Welcome to Memphis Machine,
a Muddy Pig production. I'm Jonathan Bass.
And I'm Carl Casperson, and together we're looking to show off the creative sights and sounds of Memphis, Tennessee.
Amen.
This episode I had to convince Jonathan to do because you thought it was outside the realm of our scope, but I convinced you that beer is art.
You just wanted to drink beer, it sounded like. So I was like, hey.
I was hoping that I wasn't going to be presumptuous, but every time they offered, we said yes. Did we not?
Yes. We often said, I'm not going to say no.
No. Yes. And making good beer is not hard, and it's not easy.
You got to be clean. We found that out.
You got to be clean.
You got to be really clean.
So this is a compilation of some of the fantastic brewing and distilling.
Yeah,
that is happening in Memphis at the moment. I know St. Louis has had a head start, just up the river, so to speak. But Memphis is running hard. We got to sit down with Wiseacre, Memphis Made, Old Dominick. Speaking of the distillery, Meddlesome, and this is a compilation of those interviews. High Cotton. Yeah. This is a compilation of us sitting down and talking about. They don't even like the term craft brewery anymore.
That's
do they?
Right. That came up.
I still like the term craft brew. I mean, the beer is not just for getting sloshed. Martin Luther's wife was quite the brewer. So there you go. Yeah.
From the mouth of the theologian over here.
Beer's good for you in responsibly. Yes,
that's what all the Guinness ads.
You see?
Yeah, say. Yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah.
But this took place over. So this episode is actually a compilation of 3 different interviews.
Yes.
The first takes place at Old Dominick Distillery.
Right.
The second at Wiseacre. Mm-hmm. And the third at Memphis Made.
Right.
And they were all super gracious to host us.
These are the kind of people you just want to hang out with.
And we did.
And it was fabulous.
Enjoy the show.
Oh, was I recording? Oh, yeah.
No.
Hey, welcome to Memphis Machine. This is I've been looking forward to this episode for quite a time, Mr. Bass.
Yeah, me too. And it's just got better since we got served whiskey at 10:30 in the morning.
Which is, come to find out, I'm not opposed to at all. So this is great. We are launching into a part. In addition to music and other arts, we are looking at the culinary arts. This comes under culinary arts, wouldn't you say?
We're going to say it does, yeah.
All right, so we have represented today. We've got Skylar from Meddlesome. We have Alex from Old Dominick. Kaylee from High Cotton, of course, and Ben from Meddlesome Brewery. And we're going to just discuss the Memphis vibe of creating some delicious consumable goods, so to speak.
Can we maybe go around and kind of tell us what you do?
Yeah, Skylar.
Where you do it?
Me first, okay. I work for Meddlesome. I'm their on-premise sales manager. So I basically go to accounts and basically try to sell beer into those accounts. And then also work with a distributor that we use, which is Barbaro. So I deal with the reps that they have and try to make sure that everything is going well with the distribution side of it as well.
Terrific.
So it's a lot to do.
All right. Alex.
So I'm Alex. I'm the head distiller at Old Dominick. That means I'm in charge of day-to-day production as well as product development. And I also do help out on the sales and marketing side when they need me.
Yours sounds so much nicer than what I was about to say.
Yeah. Can you tell I've had to say that a lot?
Practice.
Did she get these questions before now?
I know. I want to know why she got hers all written. So, my name's Kaylee. I'm the sales and distribution manager for High Cotton.
Yes.
We self-distribute. So I'm doing the day-to-day sales calling to do ordering. I also make new sales calls to talk with customers. I handle marketing. I work in the tap room occasionally, put events together. I'm kind of like the Swiss Army knife. I do everything but brew the beer some days. And I don't pay myself, but someday I will.
Yeah, her job sounds a lot harder than my job.
Ben.
Yep, Ben from Meddlesome Brewing Company, co-brewer, co-owner, co-janitor, just about anything. Me and my partner do almost everything there that you can imagine. We work the bar sometimes and I've had to do it for a while now.
Yeah.
It's been good.
Fantastic. So you can't deny that the independent brewer microbrew is very sexy, right? Has been. And did you was there a sex appeal, so to speak? What was the passion that drove y'all to like, I've got to do this here? Like, what's the story behind it?
That's a good question, man. Yeah, definitely sex appeal. I think that's definitely where I fit into this company the most.
Yeah. Fat guys with beards is definitely where we're at.
I mean, there is a power with this much physique that you have to consider. But I think that, I don't know, I guess being a part of like a local brand and being a part of, everybody thinks, oh, you're like you work in beer, like you just get to get drunk all the time, and like, nah, it's a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot of work, man. I mean, like, you got to clean, like most of it's like cleaning.
You got to be awake for this, right?
Yeah. And it's funny, like when I first started with them, I came in and I was like, hey, so where are all the employees? And they're like, no, you're the third guy, like you're it. Like, and I was like, whoa, dude. And they had me work in the brewery, and I was like having to really like do some work. And I was like, man, this sucks. Like, can I go sell things now? Like, they're like, no, you gotta learn the business. And I was like, yeah, but it's a lot of like me carrying heavy things and scrubbing stuff, and I don't really like it that much. And they're like, no, but that's like what we do, And I was like, wow. So I guess, I have a huge appreciation for what it takes to do it.
Right.
And so I guess that's kind of sexy. I mean, it's like hard work, and it's like sweating and there's, but yeah, I think there's an allure to it.
Right.
Because you're kind of doing something that's kind of artistic, and you're doing something it's labor intensive, and like the quality of the product comes through with that hard work,
Yeah.
So I guess that's sexy. It's not like fireman calendar sexy, but it's like old school, like man working with your hands kind of sexy, I guess, or women working with their hands. Because she knows a lot about that side of the business too.
Yeah.
Right.
She probably works like harder than most of us.
It's not a sexy business to insiders that are in the business.
There's nothing sexy about what we
manual
do.
labor.
Yeah.
Oh, that mash out point.
Straight up
Smelly in
manual
your
labor,
nose? No.
sweating your butt off and lifting and cleaning all day long.
Or when somebody sprays you with beer.
Yeah, that was my fault.
transferring
My
the
bad. It did happen. I'm sorry.
Unfiltered.
But could you say that there's an entrepreneurial spirit?
There's definitely entrepreneurial spirit
pulled
in it.
you all.
Yeah, for
right?
sure. I started homebrewing whenever I was like 23 years old. I'm 37 now.
Yeah.
And I've been in love with it since I started. It's been fantastic. Really
And
has.
how often is that story repeated of someone like, hey, I was interested in making beer, and all of a sudden I'm like putting beer on trucks now? Like how
It
often?
happens. It happens a lot. You really see that. People that are really truly passionate about it, they go on and try to figure out something to bring it to the next level, and that's the people that are really committed to it. Right now, brewing is really big, and you're seeing a big shift in that spirit. It's now more like, I can make money doing this. I have money. I don't really know a whole lot about beer, but I have money. And that's kind of there. And to me, it's a little bit almost off-putting to see some of that. Just, I want the passion to be behind it for everybody that's into it.
Right on.
Yeah, so if I can go off that, there seems to be, in the past 15 to 20 years, sort of a craft beer renaissance, or I don't even know really if you can call that in the entire country, but really specifically in the past decade in the South. So I mean, any thoughts as to why that is? We can just address the South.
I think it's access to the culture. It's spreading. It's also, there are more and more people willing to go out and try these crazy things. We're no longer just brewing, a basic Pilsner or a pale ale. We're doing these adjuncts. We're creating wild flavors. We have hemp beers now, which is insane. Seeing all that stuff start to come out of California, and other places are trying it. It's the acceptance in this culture that we can do this and try. And sometimes we have a failed beer. And it doesn't go great, but you get the feedback and you keep going because people want to see you succeed. And I mean, the most important thing is they want to drink.
Yeah,
They
I
want to
think
keep drinking.
The consumer has evolved so much, not just in beer, we see it in spirits as well, to where they don't just have their one brand that they're loyal to anymore. Sure, they probably still buy that brand, but they're perfectly fine going to the 6 different breweries that are in their city and trying anything and everything that they put on tap. And we, like I said, we see it with spirits. They, they have their go-to bourbon, but the moment a new bourbon hits the shelf, as long as it's, affordable for them, they have no problem buying it and giving it a try.
It's great. So between spirits and beer, do you consider yourselves brothers in arms or kissing cousins, or what? Like how? I guess obviously the laws of the state kind of delineate things, but how do you see that?
It's the South. I think kissing cousins.
Whoa,
Probably. Yeah. No, we're all pretty close, honestly. We're friends with everybody in town, all the breweries, the distilleries. We all know each other.
Yeah.
We lean on each other for things. It's definitely a close-knit group of people.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
We all have competition a little bit because we all want to, individually succeed and do our thing and have a good taproom day. But at the end of the day, if only one of us is succeeding and the rest aren't doing well, that's not creating the culture. It's not going to get people out to do that sort of thing. So we have to be supportive. We also run into things. I think our biggest issue is always water. So dealing with the aquifer and all that. And if they start messing with that messes with what
my
we
goodness.
do.
Yeah.
Like fracking would be a bad thing,
It'd
right?
be a horrible thing. So we're really lucky.
It'd be fracking terrible.
We have great water sitting on this natural aquifer. I'm from Wyoming, where we have to charcoal filter our water like mad just to put it into tap systems,
Yeah.
Now,
let alone brewing.
Right. Do you think that's bringing brewers and distillers or to this area? I mean, just the allure of the water?
Because
we have great water.
The water is
great.
fantastic. I think the biggest allure to people coming into Memphis to brew or distill or anything else is the lack of things that are here. If you look at cities this size across the country, some of them, especially this size, I have 30 breweries.
Oh, wow.
We have 7.
Like 7.5, basically.
Yeah.
How does it compare to St. Louis?
Oh, wow.
St. Louis has way more than we do. Yeah, way more breweries than we do. It's like one popping up every other day.
Yeah.
And it's a great thing. We need a decent amount of breweries, craft distilleries, and anything that we can get, because that in turn brings people from out of town, that gets people out and about, and really kind of helps all of us. It really does. Yeah, there's competition, like Kaylee said, but it's friendly competition.
That's awesome.
Competition breeds quality to me.
It does.
The more, and so our goal is to brew the best beer we can for the city of Memphis, and we want High Cotton, we want all these other brands to brew really good beer for Memphis. We want her to make really good spirits for Memphis.
Yeah.
And that to me makes this place becomes a destination, because they know it's going to be good. When I'm traveling, I might pick this city to come and spend my money at, because I know that I can get. I have 6 of the best breweries in the country. That's what I want. Ultimately, is to have people want to come here to try the products that we're creating. So if she doesn't do well, that doesn't help that grow. That doesn't help that vibe grow in other places. So we want to be proud of the product that we're creating, but we want to bring other people from outside who don't necessarily have as much respect. Because where I come from, we have the best beer, but I want them to come here and drink amazing beer and go home and go, man, I went to Memphis and I went to 6 breweries and it was all incredible. I went down to this place in downtown and had this amazing bourbon or had this amazing vodka, and that is going to help our city grow ultimately.
That's great.
We're going to solve problems through beer and liquor.
Oh, yes.
Well, of course. I will say personally, on like a more selfish note, and it's the elephant in the room, I need other breweries so I can go drink at them.
I'm the same way.
And I need a distillery. So.
I go to every single brewery in town equally, because they all serve up different beer, and I'm so glad that I can go and have that variety. When there's only one, I'm stuck with that, and that's it.
Yep.
So
That's
as
great.
a consumer, I love the variety.
I love
we have.
that tracks along well with like the music scene as well. It's like we're competing for gigs, but if there's a healthy batch of talented, good sounding bands and musicians, that's a draw, and that helps continue and just kind of the yeast of it.
Yeah, if you're not hiring each other too. I mean,
I have a little testimony as to how I discovered craft beer. I grew up in Southern California, and my dad was a longtime drinker of a beer that sounds like Coors.
Sounds like it.
Sounds like Coors. Yeah.
Did you say Coors or Coors?
Sounds like Coors Light.
Okay. Got you.
And I remember being a kid. My dad's like, "You want to try a beer?" And I was like, "Yeah." He didn't sound like that at all. But I tried a sip, and I thought, "Wow, I never want to drink that again. Thanks. And I went through high school, and it was just like, yeah, I'm not a beer guy. Just never. It became branded like, I go to parties, Carl, you want a beer? I'm like, I'm not really a beer guy. I get to my 20s. I moved to St. Louis. It's like 19. I'm going to date myself now, but it's 1990, 91. Schlafly had just opened, and I got a little duo gig there with a great guitarist, Dave Black, and I'm looking at the menu, and I'm just like, what's an oat? You can make beer with oatmeal? Like I had no, like what's an oat? And the bartender's looking at me like I'm having some kind of seizure or something. You know? And he said, just shut up here, try this. And it was an oatmeal stout. In my brain, like the synapses, like it was like this Monty Python moment of just like exploding. Like, oh my, it was fantastic. Yeah. And I was a changed man on the spot. Do y'all have like similar experiences? Like you talk about the culture, the draw of the independent brewer, the craft brewing vibe, the kind of going against the man of the giant corporate guys. How do you see that? How do you visualize that? How do you see yourselves?
No, I mean you're pretty well on. We are all independent owned and operated breweries, and you're going against corporations that keep buying. You know, AB InBev has decided, well, we could make craft beer, nobody's going to buy it because of the name that's behind it. So we're just going to buy every craft brewery that we can, and we're going to make it work with that, because you're going to buy it. You've already been buying it. It's been around for 15 years.
Wow.
And that's a for real fight and struggle.
I mean, but is that a hope for an owner? I mean, would that be like?
There's, it's hard to tell the Brinks truck no when it's backing up to the door. Really, yeah. I mean, because one of the companies out in California sold for $2 billion.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, that you didn't put that money into it. You put in way less than that, and now here, 15 years later, you got somebody that's saying, I'm going to write you a check for this amount. And that's a lot of zeros.
Yeah.
And if you're 50 years old and a couple of partners on it, you can split that up and everybody goes home and doesn't have to worry about anything. It's a tough thing to say no to. I know we've kind of positioned ourselves where something like that's not even possible. We will never make enough beer out of our location to have any blip on anybody's radar. We'll always be a small brewery. We've said it for years that if we make beer that never leaves Memphis, we're just as happy doing that.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's where we sit, because we self-distribute. So we literally stay in Shelby County. That's it. Yeah. And they're a bigger blip of the non-blips than we are in terms of brewing size and how far they've been able to expand, because they have the benefit of A.S. Barbaro, but that doesn't mean they're doing anything different than we are.
Yeah.
The difference is they have somebody who can go out and do the delivering, which allows Skylar to focus more on sales.
Podcasts.
And
podcasts.
Definitely. Sitting there royally in that chair. But and for me, the only difference between what Skylar and I do is I have to go in and also do my daily orders. So independent it's scary, but it's rewarding.
Yeah.
And some days you walk out of there and you have your head down, like, why did I get into this? But other days you're really happy. You get out of a big event, or you have a great batch that goes through and it sells quickly. So it's just taking that, and the thing dealing with like InBev buying up everybody, it's a blessing and it's a curse. So I look at it in that I'm experiencing breweries I never was going to get to, and it gets to be distributed out. But It's a curse for them, because when they do get bought up, their expectation to produce gets so high that the quality behind their product suffers. So I feel bad for them, because you'll see a change. I think my biggest complaint is 312 from Goose Island.
Oh, yeah.
I loved that beer when it was original, but once they got bought up and they got distributed,
I remember that, yeah.
It's totally different. It's not the same beer, because they are rushing to constantly produce it, because it's bottled, it's distributed, kegs, everything. So it can go either way, but being independent.
Now you say your self-distribution, and this is going to reveal my ignorance, but the 3-tiered system and all that, has something changed, or am I thinking about something wrong?
No, so we are limited to the county. We can only sell in Shelby County, and basically we go in, we do the sales, we bring the beer in, we take it out, we clean our own lines. So right now we're not having to deal with the middleman, kind of paying into that and having them, you know, and the taxes that come with that. Someday we're going to have to, because people are pushing. Mississippi's constantly knocking on our door, complaining, and they want us there. And we've moved into Kroger's.
Right.
And more Krogers are starting to reach out because Mississippi, Western Arkansas, they don't have the variety on top of, you know, dry counties in Arkansas.
Right.
Bless their souls. I don't know how they do it. I can never live in Arkansas. Pretty, but I can't live there. But it's, you know, it's difficult and it's a hard decision to make. But again, it's still rewarding because we are, our owner, Ryan, always talks about relativity. And we're trying to stay as relative as possible. And Memphis for us is still the most relative market, and it's still thriving and asking for more. So we're still going to do that for as long as we can. But there will come a day where, we're going to go with a distributor, but we're still, just like these guys, we're going to be on them every single day, wondering where our product's going, how are they handling
Right.
it, because
I think there's
it's a big crucial part.
It's a different headache. I mean, you still have issues that you have to overcome, and you have to communicate, and you have to work together. And it's just a different type of headache. I mean, you know what I mean? The issues are still there. They're just a little bit different.
Well, with
you know,
a distributor, you have to trust that they're going to treat your brand
Yeah.
the way you want it to be treated and present it to the end consumer how you hope that they do.
Yeah.
And also, as you grow, it's even harder to do that because, you know, we're in New York and California now.
Oh, wow.
You never see it.
I have no FaceTime at all with our distributors out there.
Oh, wow.
And to send any of us out there, a plane ticket alone is going to cost $200. So if you're small, that's not really doable.
Yeah.
So Alex, being that, you know, the craft brew movement has inertia, it's going. How unique is a distillery, an independent distillery popping up? Like what?
I mean, Tennessee's seen a lot.
Tennessee's kind of famous for.
Well, and because the laws
Spirits,
finally changed.
Okay.
When was that? It was 2009, 2010. Before that, you could only distill in 3 counties. And then they finally changed it, so it opened it up to, I believe, the entire state. So now we're up to 40-some distilleries in the state of Tennessee. But it is not nearly as common, and you don't see them pop up quite as quickly as the breweries, because if you're trying to make whiskey, you need to have a pretty good financial plan, because you're not sending that whiskey out for 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Right.
So you're buying incredibly expensive equipment, and you're not sending product out the door for
You're kind of sitting on this thing for a while, right?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, craft breweries have kind of declined as far as the number that are opening up. Craft distilleries are on the rise. It's everything trends in different ways. You know, the 80s were really big for craft beer, and the 90s was a huge tank. And
bourbon
now,
was big then.
Yeah,
instead.
and bourbon came in then and started taking over a lot. Now we're seeing the breweries have reached a fairly good peak and starting to level off, and now you see craft distilleries on a spike and rise.
Yeah.
It's a weird market. A lot of millennials are not really into craft beer. They're more into craft cocktails and things like that. So
Watching the carbs? Is that-
Yeah, or they want, like, you know, saffron and you know, fresh avocado skin
things
or
that
whatever
don't
on there.
go well in
Yeah,
beer.
whatever they do, like, and then they muddle it up and they turn it into a drink. I guess
But see, in the spirits world, we see even more trends than just, beer's big and then spirits are big. Within the spirits world, you then have bourbon, you have rye, you have scotch, you have vodka, you have gin, you have brandy, which is starting to have a heyday.
Oh, yeah.
And so within our just big bubble, you have all these smaller bubbles. And as a small distillery, you're trying to predict what the next big bubble is going to be.
if
Wow.
you're chasing a trend, you're already behind.
If it's already on the shelf, you need to move on to the next thing.
So speaking of trends, Kaylee mentioned that you used the word adjunct for different types of creative beers, right?
Yeah.
That was cool. I
a big word.
I haven't heard that.
It was a big word
very-
today.
Is that-
It is word of the day.
The word of the day, yeah.
So like I've heard that brewing beer is kind of like making tea.
It's kind of like making oatmeal.
Making
really.
oatmeal? I mean,
and then you want to separate your mushy water from your oats.
So how,
That's really what it is.
yeah.
Like,
So how creative? Like how much of a threshold are you guys pushing, or like what is it? Just your imagination, or do you kind of have staples, and then you try and How does that? How do you navigate?
No, I think we all have our staples that we work
Yeah.
with, and you do things and you kind of regret doing it because now you're stuck doing it forever.
Yeah,
But,
once somebody
like,
likes something.
every
Yeah.
brewery in town has that one beer. It's like, yep, it's time to brew that again. Didn't we brew that yesterday?
damn it.
Yep,
Yeah.
we did. It's time to brew it again. But we all have that, and then creativity. I mean, you can get as creative as you want. I've seen guys add marshmallows to beer, cereal, fruits. And, I mean, there's a crazy number of things. There's a brewery back near my hometown. I actually have the hoodie on. They add dirt, sticks, roots, leaves, mushrooms. That's like crazy.
That
things.
sounds like scotch,
Tree
like
bark.
peat moss or something, right?
Like they do a lot of really crazy things. They're a very traditional farmhouse brewery. Whatever's in season is what you're going to get in your beer.
Wow.
Yeah, there are places that just do fresh stuff, so you never know. There's no consistency behind what they're going to put out. There's
You might not even get
one
it again.
in Wichita that's what they do. It's like whatever is the seasonal fruit, that's what you're going to get, and they may not have had a good yield that year, so they go to something else. I've heard of not a distillery, but a brewery in Philadelphia. It was a couple of years ago. They did a barrel aging project where they put speakers around all their barrel age and played Beastie Boys.
Whoa.
There's a distillery in Kentucky that actually plays rock music to their brandy all the time, and
It's like a yeast rave.
they say
right?
it helps.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I think the idea is actually, like the vibration has something to do with the
agitating the
liquid
yeast.
moving
Oh, wow.
in the wood.
Agitating the liquid.
Almost like
and-
ultrasonic vibration. Buffalo
yeah.
Trace did a bunch of
Yeah.
experiments aging products
Yeah.
under like UV light or ultrasonic vibrations of these frequencies.
It's got to have a really good base. It's
Right.
got to thump.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because it's got to have a vibration because your barrels are what you want them to contract and expand. You're allowing that oxidation. You're allowing it to get in there. We're doing a
Micro-oxidation.
Flanders Red right now that we put a bunch of fruit in, and our brewery has been 1,000 different temperatures over the last 18 months. So everything that's in there it's done weird stuff, and that's the entire point behind it. But it's also the risk that you take when you're making these crazy beers, especially if you're doing anything a long-term sour. Kettle sours are tricky, but they're a little easier to deal with when you, instead of putting something in a barrel and hiding it in the back corner, praying to God it doesn't do anything to the rest of your product in the brewer house.
Once
'Cause there
once
is
you
a
put
lot of
something in a
potential
barrel,
for-
it's gone.
There's potential
You
for
have no
failure.
control.
Yeah.
Act of
You know?
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have a lot of product that you just you just throw away.
Oh.
You know what I mean? You're
There's
like,
a lot
"Ah."
of sour breweries that like dump two barrels out of every 10.
Yeah.
It's an uncontrollable product. It really is.
Wow. I had no idea.
And you get some cool stuff. I mean, you definitely
Yeah.
get some cool stuff, but you get some really bad stuff too. You know what I mean? And to me, there's you have. I think the consumer is you have a limited amount of people who are willing to go outside of the box that much. So you're talking about volume, sometimes traditional style, and sometimes more approachable, more palatable product is going to sell probably more of it. And you have a smaller percentage of people who are looking for that crazy stuff. So for us, it's about kind of balancing between like our art, man, and our and and what consumers want.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, ultimately,
Right.
it's about selling a product. I mean, it is a business, and it's not just like hanging out, like drinking beer and like trying new stuff. We want to make something that people want to drink. So sometimes it is about making things that people want, but then also kind of being relevant, like she said, and brewing things that are kind of outside of the box. And those are your more risky things, because some people just hate it, and then you don't sell any of it, and then you spend a bunch of money to make something
boy.
that is trash.
Yeah, I mean, so like you've got your original composition, then you got your Mustang Sallies,
Right.
right? Is that
Yeah, you got your
kinda-
brown-eyed girls.
You got
and
brown-eyed
they're
girl.
like, I guess I did write that.
Yeah, you want to take a break real quick? Grab a water?
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Sure.
That's cool.
So I was like, man, I'm stuck. I can't get water.
You are stuck. I like it. I already stole one.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Boy, that is just delicious, Alex. Oh my gosh.
Honestly, everyone's welcome to more. I don't know.
What?
All right, I'm tucking.
That's why I put the bottle on the table. I didn't hide it.
I was very hungover when I walked to the door. I'm very okay right now.
Glad I could help.
You can
All better.
all better, get back on the horse.
100 proof bourbon will do that.
Anybody else? Yeah. My dream has to say,
Yeah, you know what?
You know,
don't let this girl drink alone.
Take a puff and pass it down. There you go.
got a lot of nerves afterwards.
There you go.
That definitely
It
happens.
helps.
I wasn't going to say this, but now, yes, the truth serum.
I like the vanilla nose on that.
Yeah, we do the number 4 char, so you always get the nice sweet notes, the vanilla, the toffee.
I just really like to smooth it.
What are the char levels? How many are there?
Technically, the traditional ones are 4, but who was it? May have been Buffalo Trace. Ended up going to a number 7.
I was gonna say I wanted to say like
They may
8.
They may have gone even higher than that, to where it made me think that it couldn't be anything but just chocolate.
Yeah.
The barrel is gone.
All right, should we jump back in real quick?
You know,
Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to hold this for a while. No, that's good.
He's like, oh, this makes me happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're friends now.
me and you and I weren't friends before.
I'm talking about the whiskey. You and I have always been friends. Oh. Talking about me and the whiskey bottle are buds.
So you got to come out drinking with me more often, because that's primarily what I drink, and that's what I drank in high school. I wasn't a beer drinker either.
Oh, wow.
I was grain alcohol and whiskey. And I was drinking Everclear.
You weren't
which was
playing
still
around.
Like,
Not playing around.
Stupid high proof and couldn't start a car.
Yeah, I did that too, and I was pretty sure I was gonna die, so I stopped doing
Hey,
that.
it kept me warm when we had to walk home from Lovejoy's. I'm just
Yes,
saying.
yes.
I'm just disappointed they took all the energy drink out of Four Loko. That's my biggest regret in life. I think to see that great brand just crumble and give up on what they're good at. You
I
know.
have an unopened can of the original Four Loko.
I refused to drink
think
it.
I would
I
trust
bought
that at
a
this
watermelon one time, and I
it is
cracked
in
it
the
open.
closet that I've
Took
kept it
one
so it
sip,
doesn't,
and it
like,
was so
explode.
bad. I poured it out in my driveway, and
have
it
to say I got
stained
one.
the concrete in my driveway for over 6 months.
Yeah, I don't know.
I will never drink that again.
It's like,
It's awful.
it's like an alien getting cut open. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I just don't know what is, I don't know what it is about. I guess my brain being really tired and wanting to go to sleep,
I thought
but
you
my
were gonna say
body
really
being
tiny.
like rage. Like there's something about that like is really it's really attractive to me. I guess I just like,
So we may or may not open this episode with the rage.
okay, yeah. I don't know what it is about the combination of those two things that I like so much, but it's alluring.
So jumping back into it, I do want to. Big thanks to Alex for hosting our session today at the Old Dominick here. And it just so happens we are sampling Hewling Station.
Yes.
And
Did I say that right? Not
Yes,
Hauling.
it's-
but
it's Hewling.
It's Hewling, yeah.
Hewling
It's
Station.
delightful. Can you just tell us a little bit about this this magic in our glass?
Yeah, so this is a 4-year-old, what we call a high rye bourbon. So it's 52% corn and 44% rye. So it's towing the line of being a rye whiskey. And we do bottle it at 100 proof. I made that decision because I like cocktails.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I like to taste my bourbon when I'm drinking a cocktail. If you start at a low proof, you're going to lose all of that bourbon characteristic once you start adding, soda to it, orange, anything to it. So higher proof, it's going to stand up to anything you want to do to it. But fortunately, even at 100 proof, it's still pretty smooth.
So how much science are you messing with, and how much Hogwarts is happening?
It's all black magic.
It's all black, right?
It's all
yeah,
black
it's all dark arts. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I mean, it's like I said earlier. Once you put something in a barrel, all
It's on
bets
its
are
own,
off. You
yeah.
have no control over it, especially because we don't do climate control for our aging. We just let nature do its thing. And
Oh, wow.
so when you sit on it for 4 years, you really don't know what's going to come out of that barrel.
Yeah.
But fortunately, we were lucky that these barrels turned out pretty well at 4. So.
How much is left?
Like
Enough.
the bottle in front of us,
Enough.
or in the
So let's if some I want to ask, like, if someone listening to this is like, I've always wanted to jump into this, like what are your warnings, and what are your invitations to this realm of brewing and distilling?
I think
be prepared for long days, that's for sure.
Long days, frustrations. You're going to have a lot of failures. But by all means, try stuff out. Read about it. Do weird things. I think the biggest thing that we can all say among all of us is clean. Really, really clean.
Oh, that is a huge deal, isn't it?
It's 75% of our job is cleaning. Like, it's nobody tells you that when you're like, oh yeah, I brew beer, and they're
That's
like, oh,
why
that
I went
must
into
be-
distilling.
It doesn't matter as much.
It's still gotta be clean. It's still gotta be somewhat clean, but not like us. Yeah, no, we could barely only half-ass sanitize something, and that's going to create a byproduct. It's going to create an off flavor that we don't want, that can infect an entire beer and screw something up. And so, yeah, brewing is like 75% cleaning, 20% mashing out, 5% maybe brewing one day, and maybe the rest drinking, if you can get around to that part.
There's a lot of waiting, actually. I mean, that's something I noticed was just, it's
Hurry
like,
up
we
and
work
wait.
really, really hard for like 15 hours. And then it's like, what are we doing tomorrow? Oh, we're just waiting for this beer to, you know what I mean? Like, you know, there's like these huge days of just work. And then there's other days where you're kind of like, what's next, you know?
Yeah.
But you really have to kind of let the yeast do its thing, and you kind of have to let it, you know, fully actualize or whatever, you know? And I think that's kind of neat too, just the kind of the peaks and valleys of what's going on.
At least we can try our stuff within 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
They kind of have to
They
wait.
gotta wait years.
This is why I don't do.
You can try
Yeah,
it.
there's
I mean,
Well, you
a
can
lot of
try
reasons.
it.
We do try our whiskeys every 3 months ish, somewhere in that ballpark. But it's still, when you taste a 1-year-old whiskey, it's not going to tell you what it's going to be in 4 years.
I mean, what is it like approaching investors, for a distillery? Like, hey, this is.
Hey, fortunately, my owners are very patient.
Yeah, right. That's great.
They
gotta be.
they knew what they signed up for,
Sure.
I
Yeah.
think. And so they fortunately are saying, take your time. When you say it's ready, it's ready.
And you mentioned the gear's not cheap. You just don't go down the Lowe's and fit some pipes together and go at it. So what? I mean, there's.
Yeah, you're lucky if you can find anything at Lowe's except like a hose clamp.
Yeah.
Pretty much. You
Actually,
know,
you get a
floor
chance to
squeegee.
come down
You
here.
can buy a floor
This
squeegee.
place is beautiful.
Oh,
I mean, it's
please,
absolutely
no, just-
gorgeous for
Oh,
anybody
yeah,
listening
yes.
and can't see.
It reminded me of like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It always has some kind of nautical. I think all the small little round windows do that to me.
Yeah. It's like crazy
Yeah.
steampunk kind of.
Yeah,
like,
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's all handmade, right? I mean, it's
Yes, yeah. All of our equipment we got from Vyndham in Louisville, and they do everything for the most part by hand still.
Yeah.
like, gosh,
Pretty much all distilling and brewing equipment's handmade.
that's your major cost of investment, right? Just
Yeah,
just
that's
to
the
get
biggest
the gear.
cost of
Yeah.
it for sure.
Apart from trying to find a space and local laws and all the hoops, right?
Local laws really aren't too bad. I
Yeah.
mean, it's legal work. It's not anything crazy. Build out and equipment is where all the money goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any advice to anybody that's wanting to open? Make sure you have plenty of money. It's not a cheap venture to get into.
Right.
Stuff breaks.
You
a
know,
lot.
you're talking $1 million+ to get into a brewery or distillery on any kind of scale, really. I mean,
Yeah.
unless you're talking, we're making 60 gallons of beer. Okay, you can probably do that for a lot less.
Yeah.
But if you really want to take care of the city and do things, you're going to have that. And you need money to back it whenever things go south. 'Cause you have grain and hops to order. You have a ton of stuff to do. You've got product that you could possibly have to buy back. You have keg deposits that you have to pay for.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of things that really have to go back and forth. So if you come in undercapitalized, it's going to be a bad deal. It's going to be a real bad deal.
Can I brag on this guy for just a second?
Please do.
Something that I just, because I wasn't there at the inception of it. I came a little bit later, but they were having trouble. They were having trouble finding a company to install a lot of their brewing equipment and do it properly. And so they actually did all that themselves. They went in and installed. They installed everything. The tap room, they did a lot of the work and the design of it. So they put a lot of the work into actually physically making that brewery capable of doing what it's doing. And I would say that's another aspect of it that people underestimate is how much, not just how much the equipment costs, but is it installed correctly? Is it operating correctly? I mean, we had a pump that went out, and homeboy over here went and got tools, and he fixed that pump, and he got that pump up and running, ordered another pump. I mean, he put the work into it, the physical labor into that to make sure that thing was operational for the day with like minimal product loss, and that's huge. Being able to fix the toilet, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, when it breaks, I mean, you think having to call a plumber versus having him just go in there and get to work.
Yeah, if you're going to be in any place like this, you better know how to fix every piece of equipment in the building.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's
So he
one of
truly
the-
knows
Every
it.
single
He
piece.
truly
It's one of
knows
the
that
biggest
stuff
struggles.
like top to bottom.
If a pump
Yeah.
goes out, in the middle of an operation,
Everything stops, right?
everything stops.
Yeah.
What do? You get on the phone and try to find pump rebuilders in town. Hey, we got this. This is
Yeah.
going on right now. I need you here right now.
Yeah.
No,
Like,
no,
what do you
Memphis moves that
do?
fast.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
So you really need to be able to fix every single piece of equipment that could possibly fail in a brewery.
Yeah, and it's extraordinary. I mean, to watch somebody just like I can do that immediately, and you're going, I can't. I mean, you know what I mean? Like I'm not fixing that. You know, like I can.
Well,
I
and
can.
you have to know what you're working with, because Paul, he can be standing on the other side of the brewery, our head brewer, and he'll immediately know something's wrong. He knows every click,
You get used to the sounds.
or, like
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
knows it. He knows it better than his children, I think.
And
Silence.
something
Silence in the building is the worst sound.
It's
Oh
terrifying.
gosh!
Yeah.
You know, so I noticed, you know, if you see exposed equipment rooms at breweries, a lot of stainless steel, right?
Yep.
And if you notice here, Alex, it's beautiful copper. What is that intentional, or is that just
So
the
everything
look?
prior to the stills is stainless steel, just like what you would expect to see in a brewery.
Yeah.
And then everything past fermentation we transfer into copper, because one of the natural byproducts of our fermentation is going to be sulfur. And sulfur and copper interact beautifully.
Wow.
And it removes that sulfur.
Wow! I mean,
So, yeah.
the old.
Copper pot stills, like
Yeah,
Scotch
or like you
and-
see
yeah.
just the stereotypical,
And
even like
I'm
Warner
sure
Brothers.
they
some
did
kind
not
It
use
didn't-
copper because of that to
No.
begin with.
It
was
was
cheaper.
a soft metal and
It
it
was
was
easy
easy
to-
to work with.
Yeah.
But
and then
come to
they
find out-
learned.
It
Yeah.
has
Wow.
a very specific purpose.
That's remarkable.
in modern distilling, yeah.
That is so cool.
So if each of you had to say, I don't know how to put this without sounding cheesy, so I guess I can just sound cheesy. What separates you from not necessarily each other, but what's your special sauce? Your you know, your mission statement, or you know, what makes you as far as
I mean, besides me being really, really good looking,
yes. Yeah.
just checking.
It's that
Well,
sex
Eller has a
appeal.
face for radio, so this is perfect.
Bring that back around to.
Like what makes Meddlesome? How you're
Really, we kind of looked at it as the name really says it all. We are Meddlesome. We really are. You know, from the time that I started homebrewing and my partner started homebrewing, it was a lot of really dated information that we were going off of. I was reading homebrew books where the dude was wearing bell bottoms.
Nice.
It's like, this cannot be relevant. There is no way this is relevant to what I'm doing now. So it was a lot of like dispelling bad, old, dated information. What happens if I don't do what this book says? What if I cut the time in half? Or what if I change where I'm going to add the hops at? Or what if I mill my grain finer than what they say? Like, what happens? So it was a lot of meddling with the process. We also kind of meddle with the market. I mean, Memphis had 5 breweries and it was completely content having 5 breweries. Here we come to town as a disruptor and meddle in the market now. So we're meddlesome through and through, really. I mean, that's kind of what makes us. Our brew days consist of a lot of things that we've done through the years. I know that we're probably the only brewery in town that does 30-minute mashes, that uses on-demand hot water for everything, that reclaims 100% of their water from a brew day. Like, we're the only guys in town doing that. And I can say that to a T. I know that for a fact, yeah. So it's definitely something to get in there and do just what the name is, metal.
That's cool. Hey, real quick, Memphis Machine would like to thank Snakebite for their sponsorship of the podcast. Snakebite, made in America, makes the best keychain, beer, bottle opener, and folding fork church key, along with their excellent professional bartending tool, the Mamba. You can check out Snakebite at www.snakebiteco. That's snakebiteco.com.
We're doing things. Not that anybody's not doing traditional products and working with traditional recipes, but we're a little more foundational in some of that. So if you look at our extra special bitter, our Scottish ale, they are down to the core, like the traditional recipe, and they're very very proud of that, and they like to stick with that. And choosing high cotton, all the owners are from Memphis, and so they take stock in the fact that their grandfathers used to talk about being high in cotton and spreading the prosperity and that wealth in the way of, we like to sit around and drink. When I walked in the doors almost 4 years ago, that was the whole point. The owner saw a Wyoming driver's license and says, hey, let's go sit in the back and drink. And at the time, there was nothing in this back area, and we only had a handful of fermenters and our little the 7-barrel brew system that we're still working off of. And ours is older. Ours has a lot of kinks and things that have been replaced and fixed, and there might be some duct tape here or there. Marking handles to still remind us, pull this now, do this later. Little things like that. But I think just for us, we have been around just a little bit longer. It's kind of Wiseacre, we came out. Then there was Memphis Made Brewing came out around the same time as us. Ghost River has been here for 10 years. Mm-hmm. But they were foundationally a little different. They opened up as a production brewery. They were putting beer out, selling it directly to the market. And 10 years, it's 11, 12 years ago, that's all Memphis knew. It was Ghost River, Bud Light, and Coors Light.
6 years ago, there was only one brewery.
Yeah. So
wow.
Yeah. It's insane. And so Ghost River is actually behind the rest of us. They only just opened up a tap room because they didn't realize, and there wasn't a market at the time. That was another one of those cultural things that came up.
The laws also didn't really allow it. Was a big thing whenever they opened.
Huh.
But we had been running for 3 years with the tap room before they finally.
Oh yeah, they were definitely behind.
Before they put theirs in, and it took some finagling. It took a lot of all the breweries having to get together, talk about this, and push for them to give us. So we have 1,200 square feet spaces. That is or give or take. I mean, there's going to be some square footage in there that we're allowed to operate in without having to have food, but allows people to come in and do tastings, and they can purchase beer. That was the biggest thing, is we still wanted to be able to recuperate some of our costs on this beer, because there's other breweries where you have to go to. I think there's a place in Georgia at Terrapin where you go in and you have to purchase a tour and a beer glass, and they can then fill your glass up so you can drink beer.
Yeah.
They can't directly sell you a pint. But overall for us, it's just kind of playing with that traditional and really just staying true that idea of being high in cotton. And we really like drinking and sharing that with everybody. That's, I think, our biggest mission.
That's great.
I have to echo the sharing. That's definitely what Old Dominick wants to do. Is we want to represent Memphis, hopefully, well here in town, but also outside of Memphis, and just share what Memphis is, share our spirits. We definitely started off probably a little more traditional, just because I think whiskeys by their very nature are more traditional. But I like to throw a wrench in it and decided to tell the team we needed to make gin, and we're working on some absinthe and some other things for our bar. So we're kind of towing the line of being traditional, but also trying to be ahead of the curve and be a little out of the box.
Yeah, right on. That's great. Man, Skylar, Alex, Kaylee, Ben, thank you so much for sharing a good chunk of your day. Alex, thank you again for hosting a lovely session today.
Glad to have you guys.
You all check out Meddlesome, check out High Cotton, check out Old Dominick. All beautiful stuff being made, and it's a delight to take it in and enjoy the rest of your day.
I'm going to take a nap.
I'm going to say, after some Gus's Chicken across the street. Thank you, guys.
Reason.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, real quick, Memphis Machine would like to thank Snakebite for their sponsorship of the podcast. Snakebite, made in America, makes the best keychain, beer, bottle opener, and folding fork church key, along with their excellent professional bartending tool, the Mamba. You can check out Snakebite at www.snakebiteco. That's snakebiteco.com. Well, gentlemen, thank you. Here we are, Memphis Machine, part 2, or is this what do you want to call this, Jonathan?
Sure, why not? Part 2,
B?
section 2,
Part B?
B-side.
Of our culinary
It's not really
arts
the B-side.
edition, focusing on beer.
We'll just pretend like we went to the other room, took a break, and came back, and there were 2 more brewers in our midst.
But we are here at the lovely facilities at Wiseacre, and we have with us David and Kellen.
Hello. Hello.
The brothers beer, so to speak. Guys, thank you. So you've been in existence pretty much when I first moved here. I think you guys were just getting started about 2012. Is that right?
I was born in 1981. So
79.
I've been in existence for 37 years.
Okay, but more specifically, the beer, the brewery itself.
Oh, sorry, we're very literal.
Yes, yes.
Brewery's been open for a little over 5 years.
Yeah. And you guys have made an impact. I would say it's Sunday nights when we're playing at Nursing Hazel's. Tip our hat again to
Yeah.
favorite, my go-to is Ananda. That's part of my routine there, and then a soul burger to accompany my Ananda
You play there every Sunday?
every
Yeah,
Sunday night.
every
Yeah,
Sunday.
Cool. I love Ernestine's.
I think Ananda's our most dangerous beer.
Is that right?
It has like a really sneaky amount of alcohol, and it's I feel like it's very drinkable for being 6.2% alcohol. So
Wow.
I always plow Ananda. I just drink it really fast, and then I wind up a mess.
It's a staple at our house.
It's delicious. No, yeah, it's one of my faves. And speaking with the our other part A with High Cotton and Meddlesome and Old Dominick, that it was highlighted that maybe jumping into the whole brewery game is pretty easy. Kick back, right? Was that the you just kind of
That's what everybody said
mix some
yesterday.
ingredients
Yeah.
together, let it do its thing, and bottle it, right? No, that's hyperbole. I know you guys take it literally, but it's as far as like the culture, the vibe. We were honing in on the entrepreneuristic, all the sexiness of it, but then there's also a crap ton of work that goes into the whole endeavor. Then how would you describe? You guys still like brewing beer? You tired of it? Or is it still exciting? How's that going for you?
Yeah, I mean, making beer is always fun. I mean, it's a scientific and creative outlet. I mean, I think there's definitely some parallels between cooking and brewing. You definitely have to have more of an interest and care for microbiology than you would if you were cooking. You also can't just go back and add more salt, so you have to have a much better idea where you're going from the beginning, which maybe is a little closer to baking, but with baking a lot of times you can just it's a more immediate thing.
Yeah.
I mean, David's being pretty specific to actually making beer, but I think in general, our industry is really hard work. Beer is not as good of like a margin or something as like a software or something like that. So I think you really have to enjoy it and love it, and not just like beer itself, but like the whole process. And David is in charge of the brewing process, and he really loves it, and I think that gets passed on to other people that are here that are in production.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really important because it can be a grind, just like anything else. It's a job too. So you have to really enjoy it and have fun with it. And I think we have fun together, so that helps the thing keep going.
Yeah.
And pushing forward. So I don't know. It's funny because people ask us about entrepreneurship, and I don't think either of us necessarily would think of ourselves as like entrepreneurs, but I think we worked really hard to learn this industry, and that's what that preparation I think has been key to what's happened here.
How'd you guys fall into this? I mean, just like home brewing, and then it just grew, or was that like?
Yeah, I mean, David would be the spark. He's the older brother, so I mean, my whole life I've been trying to do what he was doing and figure out. He loves to cook, and I think that's inspired me to try to be a good cook, whatever. But he was homebrewing his freshman year of college, so that was like 98, I think. And he started homebrewing, and some pretty funny stories along with that. But it just grew and grew and grew. By the time he moved to Nashville, it had taken over like his whole life. When his wife was in grad school, and his whole apartment and condo, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I got out of college, and I was like, man, you've got to figure out how to make brewing your profession, because there's no way. If you knew David well, he was going to get some kind of regular job, and he'd had a couple that didn't work well. So I was telling him for a few months, like, you got to figure out how to make brewing your career. And then I was like, we got to figure out how to open a brewery, knowing full well that he would become great at it just because of the way he's always lived his life. I mean, he'd figure out something he liked, and he would, master it. If it was like instructions on, a camera or a toy when we were young, or chess. If he didn't like something, he might not care about it and get like a D in school. But if he liked the class, he'd get 110 average. So anyway, he figured out the brewing part, and I tried my best to figure out the rest.
Yeah, it's a strange thing to turn a hobby into a profession, and I think for a while I fought against that idea.
Yeah.
Because, especially back then, you don't really like your job, so you kind of don't want to do something you love and make it your job, because then you're like, oh, I'm not going to like it anymore.
Yeah.
That definitely proved to not be true with brewing, but it's strange when you get a hobby to a point where, like, I was making an amount of beer that was unconsumable. Like, I was so interested in the process and the production of it that I was just going way past what was sensible. I mean, you can't drink 3 cases of beer a week, or somebody probably does.
Probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
So something we didn't bring up in the last conversation, but definitely, just even looking here in the tasting room. You call this a tasting room, or the
Sure.
the
Tap room.
the public access tap room. There we go. The when being in St. Louis, that Schlafly was my introduction to craft independent brewing, and what caught my eye is the artistic endeavor. The branding, the marketing of it being like, we're not industrial beer, we're independent, and there's this kind of like, what would you call it? Like this the artistic kind of like almost like band vibe. Is that, you know what I mean? Like, just looking around this room, like your branding is remarkable and beautiful. Can you tell me a little bit like how this happened? Just settling on the design, the branding of Wiseacre.
The band vibe might be especially appropriate here. Rachel Briggs, who does our art, is a friend from high school. All of her work is in music besides what she does for us. She lives in Nashville. She's from here. But she did Chuck Berry's last album cover, she did Old Crow Medicine shows an album for them. And she's done a lot of other smaller bands, a lot of concert posters and stuff like that. So she was the art director for American Songwriter magazine and left to go freelance when we were going to open up. And she and I had been talking about what we wanted to do here for a long time. And we have a bunch of hilarious emails of, like, when I was out west working for Sierra Nevada, I would draw a picture and, cartoonish, and send something to her, and she'd laugh and send something back. But I think part of what has been magical about her work here is that she knows us well, and there's like a good communication. Artists, it's somebody will tell her something to do that doesn't make sense to her, and she might not get their personality or what they want. And I think there's, some kind of that, magical connection of just good friends. Like, she knows what we're going to think is funny, and it still fits her style and all that stuff. And the last thing I might add to it is that I think our dad is a really good storyteller, and we really love stories. So we the majority of the stuff we have, there's some kind of story tied to the art, and she has a really cool way of conveying all of that in a fun way, in a classic way, in a timeless way, in a unique way. So
that's what hooked me. Not only with my story of growing up with a Coors Light. My dad drank light beer, and I just was like, well, it just didn't do any. Didn't do anything for me at all. Trying my first oatmeal stout kind of blew my mind. But the branding, and that's what attracted me. Like, I was never growing up. The commercials on television was like this. It's girls and beach and boats, and there was always this weird kind of like, you're going to get lucky drinking our. Yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't. I was like, whatever, but what appealed to me, like, the craft brewers, I think, were bringing, and this is maybe getting highfalutin, but bringing about an intrinsic quality of, like, what we're doing is like making beer is beautiful. How about that? Making beer is there's something lovely about it, and yeah, if it happens to help your personal life, that's one thing. but actually, we're standing behind, like, making beer is a lovely thing, and we hope you like we put a lot of hard work into making this different, rather than just a mass-produced soda.
I'm aware of 3 couples that met here that have gotten married.
There you go.
So let's not write off getting lucky.
Well, but as far as, like, I'm just kind of expressing what attracted me to the movement of, like, something like. I love jazz music, and now jazz is nerdy, and it's a very small market share in the whole realm of music. But I think it's beautiful and lovely, and people that make it obviously are excluding a mass appeal in order to make this art. So that's kind of what attracts me to the craft brewing vibe as well, just deliciousness.
If I can shift us in another direction, I picked up that you said you worked at Sierra Nevada. Mm-hmm. Was that like a calculated move to learn the business,
for sure.
or was that like
For sure. We were back home in Memphis, and we had been, I think I had mostly been prodding him, like, let's get jobs, let's open a brewery. And David was the more cautious one in our relationship, and he's like, well, I need to get better at this. I've just been home brewing for years, and I've read some books, but I need to know what I'm doing better. So anyway, he was like, I want to go to brewing school, and I got a job in the beer industry. So I got a job with a beer distributor in Nashville. I went to Belmont at night and did that for 3 years and turned that into a job with Sierra Nevada on just marketing side and stuff like that. So I moved out west to work for them, and David went to brewing school in Chicago and in Germany, and then he was a brewer in Chicago on a professional level. So he had, I guess, 5 or 6 years brewing in Chicago, where he got to work under a guy who's a fantastic brewer, and then got to work on his own, developing recipes. And the ability to do that on a professional level is way different than home brewing and having, like, your cousins tell you that your beer is awesome or something. It's the city of Chicago. He was a brewer at a brewery on the corner of Grand and State, middle of downtown Chicago, Red Line stop, where people would tell him if it sucked, and he got feedback, one way or another.
Is that brewery still in existence? Or is it? Yeah. Who is it?
Rock Bottom.
Okay.
I kind of skipped over you guys. The first part of the question was Sierra Nevada, but everything was really intentional leading up to this. And fast forwarding to Tiny Bomb, our Pilsner won a medal at Great American Beer Festival the first year we were open, and everybody was like, wow, it's, the first year you did it. But David had been making Tiny Bomb for like 7 years on a professional level, not messing around at home. So, he had been able to make 70 Pilsners and tweak them and make little differences and make something great instead of just good. So he had all that time to prep and to practice and make mistakes and learn from them and all that stuff. So it was all part of the plan.
Yeah, I can throw that. I mean, all your beers, I typically drink Tiny Bomb and Ananda, and they are like consistent. They're like really right on the money.
Is that crazy hard to keep it consistent? I mean, you're dependent upon your ingredients, right?
For sure.
What do you do?
And they change every year, and the hops are different every year, and the grain is different every year.
Yeah, it's crops.
Yeah,
right.
It's an agricultural product. So, yes, it's difficult, and we work really hard to keep it the same.
And not only is it difficult, but it's funny with wine where inconsistency is appreciated. People are like, oh, it's different this year.
Yeah.
What's this one going to taste like this year versus next? But if you have a Tiny Bomb that tastes different than it's supposed to taste, you're pissed because you're like, damn it, something's wrong with this beer. It's not okay in the beer world, even though it's way harder to keep it consistent than wine. So it's a big challenge, especially on lagers, which I think David would, the thing maybe he's most proud of is making great lagers. It's a more challenging thing to do on that front. So
why is that?
It's more of a babysitting process. I think
it's cold, right? Like, it's cold.
Well, in making things that are clean tasting and things that finish in like a snappy, dry, like palate clearing sort of way, are much harder to make than things that just have lingering giant flavors.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, they're delicate too. I mean, if you make a mistake on a lager,
it's really obvious.
Yeah, it's super obvious. If you make a mistake on a beer that's really hoppy, it's still going to taste really hoppy. It might be kind of hidden. It's sort of like if you just put hot sauce all over something, you're just going to taste hot sauce.
Okay.
I like hot sauce.
So the fact that it is delicate and simple and balanced is a much bigger challenge for sure. But
does it feel like every beer? Does it feel like you're releasing a record? Like, does it feel like you're a label?
It's kind of cool they do album covers, and we touched on that already.
Anytime we're making something new that we haven't released before is certainly like that. I mean, we've made like 130 different.
Well, it's like 160 now.
160
really?
Different beers, like distinct different beers, and every time we do that, there's a little of that, but almost everything we've made here has not not everything. It comes from, previous batches of beer and the knowledge of what malts, what yeast, what hops make, different flavors in the end, and how to get those things together into something that you like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, obviously, if it's like a record, I think Dave would be a pretty prolific songwriter. But, there's chefs that are great chefs, and if they make something new, you're almost expecting it to be great because of their same thing, mastery of equipment, their experience and education. Not that there aren't mistakes that are ever made by chefs or by David or something. I'm not saying that, but he had that really, really big foundation to stand on to be able to experiment and experiment in a way that they're really educated. Decisions being made along the way. It's not like what's going to happen here. I don't know. There's a lot of previous knowledge from barrel aging and Belgian beers and lagers and whatever the whole mix of things.
So do you also feel like a well-established artist that can possibly get tired of their hits? Do you get tired of the hits, and does it keep you from experimenting with other things?
Yes and no. 90% of the beer I drink is Tiny Bomb.
Yeah.
So I would say I don't really get sick of the hits. There are times when, the larger our brewery's gotten, the less opportunity we have to just screw around with reckless abandon, because we're so busy making the beers that sell really well that we don't have as much opportunity to make fun stuff that maybe doesn't sell very well, but that I still love. We have a smoked Helles lager on tap right now called Dr. Gibbler. It's one of my favorite beers ever. It's it smells and tastes kind of like a campfire. Wow. in a really nice sort of way. It doesn't sell that well. But it's delicious and it's unique, and it's not something that you get in the United States really at all. There's a town in Germany called Bamberg, and all of the beer there is smoked.
Wow.
That's all you can get anywhere you go. It's just smoked beer. Huh. That's the whole thing there.
What do they drink? Schnapps too, right? What is it?
They drink prune schnapps.
Schnapps
and pear schnapps. Yeah.
Wow.
But it's just a really unique style of beer that you don't get very often. So I love making stuff like that and drinking stuff like that. But
yeah,
and we still make them. He's just saying we have to. There is a sense of having to keep up with. We've got placements in chain grocery stores. You can't run out of beer for them. We have to make a lot of Tiny Bomb. We have to make a lot of Ananda.
Right. We can't run out of Ananda because we decided to make a bunch of smoked beer.
Right.
Okay. But is there ever a daydream of and we talked about this also with the other guys of like a larger corporate coming in, buying you guys out, and it would free you up to just be experimental from, you could retire and just make smoked beer for the rest of your life? Or is that is that ever a daydream, or is that
not that specifically, but I do think part of the reason that we're a little hamstrung now is because we're maxed out in our current facility, and so we don't have room to play around. If we can grow some more, then we can actually free up some more creative space, and so I think we're close to doing that. We've been trying to line up all the stars to make that happen, but our production schedule is just super tight. Our early guy gets here at 5 a.m. a lot. Our late guy will leave at 3 a.m. So it's really busy. There's not a lot of room for air, and it puts a lot of stress on the system and kind of stifles creativity a little bit. But I think the record analogy was kind of fun because I feel like we may have one of those crossover songs that there's some art like Radiohead doesn't play Creep anymore, but people love the song, that I feel like that happens sometimes where you do something that's kind of you think it's funny, but then everybody else loves it and you're like, oh God, I don't want to play this song again. Why do you guys like this so much? But that might happen sometimes. But it's variety's fun, people will come up and the smoked Helles are this beer's bad. And you're like, he told me a long time ago, don't say it's bad, say you don't like it. It's if you don't like Ethiopian food, it doesn't make it bad. It just means you don't like it. Somebody else loves it. So variety is fun. Not everyone's going to like everything, and we're totally okay with that.
Yeah, the main point that I think I would like to, get across to just the general population.
Everybody listen.
Yeah. Is do not eat a cheeseburger every day.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like there's a lot of other delicious things out there. And it's the same thing. Like, do not drink a Bud Light every day. Like it, and there's nothing wrong with a Bud Light, but the problem is that you just do it over and over again. Like, it's always so shocking to me that people are willing to just do the same thing over and over again. Like, that's such a boring life.
Amen. Preach. Yes, that is true. That's awesome. So, do you enjoy camaraderie? I'm like, how about the built-in camaraderie? Is there a built-in camaraderie of brewing and brewers
between other brewers in the city? I mean,
yeah, I think there's, when I was in Chicago, it was like we were all train. It's about to get real loud.
Oh yes, Memphis train. I live by a train track.
so often you won't even notice.
And my dogs let me know every single
This
time.
is like in the movie when you say the most important thing, but nobody. It's just your lips moving. And there's the train in the background, and it ends.
I need you.
Wow, that was deep.
We're definitely all willing to help each other out. We have all loaned each other ingredients and
Equipment.
Yeah,
Drew showed up a couple months ago and was like, "I need your labeling machine now." Like, I didn't even call. I was like, "Take it, bring it back when you're done."
Yeah, and
finish what
I'm
you were
like,
saying.
I need some oats, and they'll bring me some oats, and then we bring back oats in a bottle of champagne, and
Oh man.
I think there's definitely a willingness to share.
Yeah, like we were talking, like the healthier music scene, all the musicians benefit. The healthier a brewing scene, everyone start. It contributes.
Well, and I think we're all united in the same don't eat a cheeseburger every day kind of battle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's probably the same nationally. In Memphis, I want to say the craft share is less than 10%. Nationally, it's closer to 15%. So there's still in Memphis 90% of the people, and it's not just Bud and Miller Coors. And once again, we don't necessarily have a hatred for them. I think
not at all.
Back to what David's saying, there's in some ways there's an appreciation, and respect for them, but it's not just those, but it's also imports maybe have a worse taste in my mouth than a lot of domestics, just because often it's like the PBR of Belgium. They put a fancy wrapper on it and ship it over here, and people think it's nice, even though it's actually in a green bottle and skunky and whatever. So there's those other things are taking up that space instead of really American businesses and especially local businesses and stuff like that. So everybody is united on that front as well.
Have you guys done the Anheuser-Busch tour in St. Louis?
yeah,
It's mind-blowing, isn't it?
it is.
I mean, the absolute magnitude of...
So the first year I worked at Rock Bottom, we were one of 3 breweries in Chicago, and we were the 3rd busiest brew pub in the country. So we were banging, like we were going crazy. We made a little over 3,000 barrels that year, so that's like 6,000 kegs worth of beer, and we sold it all across our bar at Rock Bottom. And I was like, I was feeling pretty good, pretty proud of ourselves, and I took the Anheuser-Busch tour. And when I walked in to the cellar where they have the horizontal tanks, where they're aging beer, the Beechwood aging area.
Yeah.
I walked in, and it felt like there was just a giant stainless steel wall on my right, but when you step back a little bit, you realize it's a tank, and they had a little sticker on it that said the for tax purposes it was determined that vessel held 3,000 barrels. So that was my entire year of production. That's their batch size.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
So
right.
it's just a crushing blow, but also the realization that they're doing things on a scale that's almost incomprehensible to people that brew like us.
That's remarkable.
They dump more beer than we make.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh gosh.
Way more. They dump way more beer than we make.
And dumping being like a brew doesn't come up
Right.
and you got to kill it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, New Belgium dumps more beer than we make.
Probably.
I mean, just the really big craft
What
breweries
do you do with the beer? Does it just? I mean, do the fish benefit? How's it work out?
Fish probably don't benefit. Probably nothing benefits. You're putting a bunch of acid and carbon dioxide down the drain.
Oh gosh.
So we asked this to everyone yesterday. If there's anything that separates you from other brewers, I think I used the word special sauce
Special sauce.
yesterday. Yeah, or a mission statement, or I don't know, disruption agenda, or
A lot of people here have really great hair.
oh.
I know you can't see us right now if you're listening, but that's a big separator for us. Everybody here has great hair.
I
We demand
meant
that
Sam.
from
Yeah,
people.
he's kind of that was kind of similar haircut, right?
Yeah, he's beautiful hair.
Yeah, beautifully bald head.
We fired a bunch of male models behind the glass.
Hey, real quick, Memphis Machine would like to thank Snakebite for their sponsorship of the podcast. Snakebite, made in America, makes the best keychain, beer, bottle opener, and folding fork church key, along with their excellent professional bartending tool, the Mamba. You can check out Snakebite at www.snakebiteco. That's snakebiteco.com.
That's a weird question to answer because I don't know. What is our answer? Besides the hair.
We can skip it and edit this.
Oh, sure. I
all
was gonna say,
total.
just trying to make good beer.
We don't need to skip and edit it. I'll add that just the lager thing. We said that earlier, but that's something, we sell beer in 7 states now, and I get to travel around and talk to people about the beer that we make, and we're super proud to make really good lagers. And
Okay.
no matter where we go, we don't ever want to say anything bad about another brewery to other people, and I don't think you're asking that, but
No.
I think the thing that we're super proud of doing well here is making really good lagers. Memphis water is important to that. We have really soft water here, which is great for making lagers. It's more easy to make good lagers here than it would be like in Phoenix, where they have a really high mineral content. Davin's brewing school in Germany is certainly a huge part of that. They make a ton of lagers in Germany.
Is the water similar? Is that like a?
Our water's actually ridiculously soft. Like,
Pilsen, Czech Republic.
yeah, Pilsen Czech Republic would be closer to our water.
Huh. The chemistry
it's-
of it, obviously.
There's just very, very little mineral content in our water at all. Most, rain that falls to the earth in the United States it goes through or runs over limestone at some point, which, becomes a part of the water. So you have a lot of calcium carbonate. Our water goes through basically a gigantic sand filter, which silica doesn't go into water. So we just have extremely soft, mineral-free water in Memphis.
And other breweries have to do some filtering in order to.
It's definitely some filtering, but you can only really do that to a certain degree without what it's called reverse osmosis.
Yeah.
Like you're basically just turning water into hydrogen and oxygen, and then you actually. That doesn't make very good beer either. You got to go back the other direction and start adding some mineral content back to it. Just hydrogen and oxygen is kind of a toxic thing to. I talked to somebody that was a brewer in Indianapolis that got so sick he almost died from just drinking the reverse osmosis water.
Oh gosh!
Because he didn't understand it. Like it strips minerals out of your body. It pulls calcium out of your bones.
Oh gosh!
Because it's plain hydrogen and oxygen is looking for molecules of all sorts to pull.
Those atoms are looking to work on. Yeah. Oh gosh!
That's weird.
That's kind of scary.
That's something though that we brag about wherever we go, just as Wiseacre. So that's probably the best answer to the question. I mean, it's really fun. I was in New Orleans recently. We got a sales guy who's in Philadelphia right now where we sell beer. There's somebody full-time in Chicago, and they're going around to bars and stores everywhere saying, Tiny Bomb is one of the best pilsners in the country. We're able to make it because of the water here. We're able to make it because we have a brewmaster who's really passionate about lagers and spent a lot of time working on it. We love Ananda too. It's the best-selling IPA in the state. But the farther we get from home, the more Tiny Bomb will just stand out in its style. If you go to New Orleans or Philly or Chicago, markets that we sell beer that are farther from home. Brewers there make IPAs. There's a lot of good ones out there. It's more challenging to compete on that front. And we have this, kind of a couple of hidden advantages with the water and with our German-trained brewmaster. So
Yeah.
we love lagers. We've had a lot of events surrounding lagers. We talk about them a lot. Maybe that's our calling card.
That's cool. I'm going to pay a little more attention to Tiny Bomb. I just get
Oh yeah, you should.
Ananda just kind of smitten me when I was first jumping into
Well, we do a
that.
ton. I mean, Oktoberfest and Martzen is a lager. Bach's are lagers. We've done a Doppelbock before, a couple of them.
Dr. Gibbler's a smoked.
I'm
We do
intrigued.
Memphis
I'm intrigued
Sands,
by that. I got.
Which is a Hellas. We've done a Japanese rice lager recently.
Oh gosh.
We did a Bach with popcorn. We did a collaboration with Austin Beer Garden Brewing. That was a dry hopped lager. So we've done all kinds of lagers here.
So I've been looking at this prank calls to Satan.
Oh, nice.
The black IPA.
Yeah, it's when you call Satan, you make fun of him for being nice. He gets really mad about that. You're like, you're such a good guy. He's like, shut up, leave me alone. We had some internal dialogue. People were like, are people going to be offended by that? And I was like, is the word Satan offensive, like in and of itself? I don't know. I don't think it is. We're being silly. It was a riff from a Far Side cartoon where there was graffiti in hell, and it was like Satan looking at people that did graffiti on the walls of hell, and they're messing with him, kind of in the same way. So that was where the idea came from. We had a couple Far Side books when we were kids.
This place sucks.
That's right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So could you throw a chunk of smoked salmon in the beer making process in there if you
So
wanted to?
fat generally is not good for beer.
Okay.
Part of a nice looking beer is foam head retention, and fat destroys foam.
Ah, yes. Okay.
But you did do that bacon thing,
I've done a bacon thing,
which was tell them what you did because it seems way too much work.
it's too much work. I mean, there's a process. It's mostly used in like the perfume industry. It's called fat washing. So there are flavors and aromas that are soluble in different ways. So there are certain things that are fat soluble, and there are things that are water soluble, and there are things that are alcohol soluble. And sometimes you can do some fun transference things where you get something like bacon and you cook it down and you blend the flavor in bacon is all in the fat.
Uh-huh.
You can mix that with alcohol. It's called fat washing, and then separate the fat again, but the flavor from the fat is in the alcohol now.
Okay.
So then you can use the alcohol as you're basically making extract.
So is it kind of like a liquid smoke making process?
No, liquid smoke is it's a water soluble vapor condensation.
Okay.
Is that why perfume makers love that whale vomit stuff? Is that what you know what I'm talking about? No, there's that stuff. It's like whales will vomit up this chunk of stuff, and it's very expensive. If you find it, do you not know what? Have you heard of this?
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh, no! I'm gonna have to Google this in a minute. But no, I think this is what you're talking about. It's this floating chunk of stuff. And it washes up on the beach, and if you find some, like perfume makers will fight over it.
It's like a tonsil stone of a whale.
Yes. Tonsil stone.
All right, we just lost a lot of.
Well,
listeners.
could you make a beer with no? Okay. So
assume we
the
have
end
it.
product was not. I mean, so it took a lot of work, and you were kind of was it a fun beer?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the idea is you're getting bacon flavor into a beer, which is a place where it just doesn't belong at all. But it's a unique flavor.
Yeah.
And it's unexpected. I just saw I'm not really like a meme person, but or meme, whatever the hell is.
M-E.
Emmy.
How do you say that?
Meme.
I think it's meme, yeah.
Meme. But there was a hilarious one I just saw that the Onion had made, the fake newspaper.
Yeah.
And it just showed a bunch of chips, and it said Americans like thing that tastes like other thing.
Oh, yeah, so that's it. Right.
Hey, so you've got. Speaking of arts again, though, you have the symphony coming in November which will probably this will be launched probably after that. But
Probably.
as far as you enjoy classical music. What other kind of artistic endeavors are you guys?
We encourage you to come to Wiseacre on November the 17th in the
17th.
past.
In the past,
When you hear this, you'll
Once
need
you
a
hear this,
time machine.
yeah, you're going to want to come back.
But you do have a stage, right? And
Yeah, we have a porch that will be a stage.
I think we like lots of art. I mean, I think socially, David and I can be kind of similar, but as you guys can probably tell from our conversation, we have some different interests. Our dad probably especially encouraged us to get into the arts, and David, early on, it kind of became cooking first. Like he went to a cooking camp maybe in 4th grade or something like that.
Oh.
He came home and cooked for us. It was
I like to
know,
consume things.
he likes to make things you can consume.
Yeah.
good things.
And all he's ever wanted for Christmas the past 20 years is just like kitchen contraptions. So I feel like that's kind of become his art. He mentioned Widespread Panic earlier. He quit trying to find new music, after like 10th grade, essentially. It's the stuff he liked in 10th grade. He wears the same shoes he had in 10th grade. Certainly, I think music is inspirational of all kinds. Art, for sure. And creative people, I think, are maybe a catalyst for stuff here. And,
If you worry about too many things, you can't do anything really well.
that's
So,
true.
like, if you're like, what about my shirt? Then that's gonna take away your
take
time
away.
for something else that's important.
Cool.
Especially when you have kids. There's no more time.
Yeah, there's the
Oh gosh.
yeah,
time
there's
is
that.
gone.
What so by the time this launches, we'll probably be close to the new year. What new things do you have coming up for 2019 already? Holy cow!
Yeah, right.
Anything you can
We
talk
have
about?
done something unique this year. We made a wheat wine that has been aged in bourbon barrels. So it'll be a real heavy hitter, like a probably 13 or 14% alcohol.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Super rich, malty, almost more akin to like port. That liquid raisin kind of flavor.
Wow.
I'm really excited about that.
Is that you can use your gear that you already have, or is that like take a special?
I mean, it's some different aging processes, and I wouldn't call it equipment, but
Yeah.
How long is that process? I mean, how far are you into it?
about a year is the sweet spot. I mean, there's definitely some times where you can go longer than that, and sometimes you can go shorter too. But about a year is usually the right number. You just like bourbon is better than longer. I mean, not necessarily longer. There's like a 15-year sweet spot in my opinion. But seasonally and with temperature changes, you have the wood of a barrel that's either soaking up liquid or expelling liquid as it expands and contracts with heat. So kind of the more time and the more temperature swings you have, the more like a barrel it will taste, which is good to a certain extent, which is why some people clamor over like the Pappy Van Winkle, like the 21
Right.
year.
Yeah.
And it's just gone bad by then, in my opinion.
Ah,
Like the 15 years is where it's at.
sweet spot.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah, I've had some really old scotches that were it was the same label and everything, and the 12 to 18, like
Yeah.
you said, is kind of the sweet spot. It was too much beyond that. Yeah.
I think there's, balance is maybe something you want in barrel aging beer, and you want to be able to taste the base style really well and say, that's a good imperial stout.
Right.
And I can taste the barrel and the spirit that was in the barrel. You don't want to just only taste, wood. Then, what's the whole point of making a really good base beer? But we've done, we did a tequila barrel-aged Belgian single that had way less time in the barrel because it was a less than 5% beer. So because it was a smaller beer in terms of booze and flavor and stuff, if we left it in as long as we did a imperial stout, it would have just tasted like tequila. We wanted to be able to taste and that was one of my favorite beers we ever made. That it tasted like soda. It was amazing. We also,
It's
it
like
tasted,
Fresca that got you messed
yeah, it
up.
was like squirt or something. It was delicious. We have a beer coming out this year that is a white wine barrel aged, both wild yeast and lactobacillus added, so sour and funky for
Oh, wow.
kind of buzzwords. We added some pears to it, and it's gonna be I'm really excited about it. It's bottle conditioning right now. That'll be out Our barrel aged imperial stout will come out. That'll be symphonic this year.
Nice.
It's a rotating thing. I guess around the New Year, Snowbeard will be coming out. Our barley wine. We're going to do Azazel again, which is a Belgian golden strong ale. We'll probably add something to it, but I don't really know what yet.
Now, everything that you make, is it available? Well, let me reverse that question. Are some things only available in the tap room?
Well, everything's available in Memphis for one. So I mean, we do hold stuff in the tap room, but every beer that we've made, the city of Memphis has access to, where we might not ship some stuff out to other markets, and that really matters to us. We more than anything want to be a great brewery for the sake of Memphis. So if we make if you walk back in our brewery, you'll see tanks of different sizes. All the specialty stuff will be in smaller tanks. So there's less of it in general, and it'll go out to, if we bottle it, it'll go out to, all the better beer stores in Memphis, Joe's and Cash Saver and Buster's and all those places, and then, we'll have some here as well. But it might not make it, across the state or around the Southeast or whatever, if that makes sense.
That's awesome. I was going to say, so if, obviously, people listening, people getting into brewing, you guys have enjoyed success. You've worked really hard, and you continue to work hard. What are the joys and the warnings you could give someone who's maybe poking around at looking to do this?
The primary warning would be that opening a business because you love something is like the dumbest thing you can ever do. If you don't have, experience and, some understanding of what an actual business is, I'd love to say that I wouldn't love to say it. It's the passion and the excitement about making beer or grilled cheese or music or whatever is extremely important. But if you don't understand that in the end, if you don't make any money, it's not going to work.
Yeah, it's not enough.
And then you will lose everything that you love.
Right.
That would be the primary warning that I would give to people.
Maybe an inverse way of saying it is you'll see a story and it's this accountant follows his passion for beer to open a brewery. And I always think of it, we worked for about 10 years in the beer industry before we opened up. And, what if it was we decided to open up an accounting firm because we liked accounting or something? We would suck at it. We're not good accountants. We love tax, so we're going to open an accounting firm. We wouldn't be good at it. We don't have experience in it. We don't have training. We didn't learn from anybody that taught us how to do it. There's some silliness involved in that it kind of goes along with the warning. And I don't think David didn't mean that in a way of kind of bashing people, but it is.
Oh, yes, I did.
It's a risk. Starting a business is a risk.
I think the restaurant business is famous for that.
Oh yeah,
it's
the exact same thing.
It's very romantic. Some people have some money, we're going to open a restaurant.
And music too.
Yeah,
Sure.
Oh, for sure.
And so many of those things just go down in flames, and so often is the case with beer and with restaurants and with music. The beer or the food or whatever, it can be freaking awesome, and if you don't have anyone that knows how to run the business, it doesn't matter. The food can be delicious and you're still going out of business.
Yeah, the first couple of years were, I think, really fun and really hard, but it's not sustainable. So I think if we were here at midnight kegging beer and trying to do our taxes and cleaning the bathroom and serving beers and doing it all over again, and you just couldn't do it forever. So I don't think anybody would want to be in that perpetual state of.
Oh yeah,
early on.
It was crazy.
So you acquired a better acumen for the business side. Is that what you're saying? Like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
by necessity, maybe.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and we've had people to work with us and teach us stuff along the way on the business front, I guess, as well. But it's having a business is not. It's challenging. And I think a good thing that we have is that the two of us can fight. 2 days ago we were pretty pissed at each other, but we've been doing that for almost 40 years now, and so we're over it. As soon as we're done, right. So we can be brutally honest with each other, which you have to be, and then we can forgive each other and not care about it. The next day, and that's pretty tough. I mean, just in general in life, and just in terms of how relationships go. People, what did he mean? What, I don't know. And then you internalize it and you get over it. We don't have any of that.
Right.
It's like,
Wow.
Also, there's an inherent trust in working with my brother.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true for everybody's family. But
Yeah, I was kind of going to say that you might be the exception rather than the rule.
right. But like, I don't ever think. I wonder if Kellen's stealing. Like, or I wonder if if he's doing things that just benefit him. I don't ever think those things, and it turns out sometimes he is stealing. It's not that big of a deal.
I don't know how to log in when I get beer. We're supposed to keep track.
Where'd the oats go? Wow, it's like, yeah, gee whiz.
Kellen's feeding him to his horse. Kellen has a horse.
Do you really have a horse?
I don't have a horse,
No,
everybody.
it's a pony.
Palomino.
Well, Dave and Kellen, thank you so
Thank
much.
you so
This is
much.
delightful, you guys. Thank you. I know you just giving us some precious time to discuss this. And please, Memphis and beyond, try Wiseacre. And like me, just go beyond the Ananda and try everything else, although I do love Ananda again. But thank you, guys. This has been delightful. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Don't eat a cheeseburger.
There you go.
Every day.
Every day.
Sometimes.
Yeah, you should eat cheeseburgers. Just don't eat one every day.
Awesome, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
He's got a batch brewing. Hey, welcome to. I'm going to call this the third part. I don't know if this is going to play in the third part, but
It'll work out.
it'll work out.
Volume three.
We guys, welcome to Memphis Machine.
This is the third stop.
This is the third stop of a
Yeah.
delightful endeavor. Memphis Made. Memphis Made beer. Thank you guys for taking some time out of your precious day to hang with us and
Andy and Drew.
or Drew and Andy.
Drew and Andy.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is part of our culinary arts edition that we have going. Memphis Creatives. When the idea came up for pursuing kind of culinary arts, of course, beer came at the top of my list, as it should.
Yeah,
Let's be
And-
honest,
and-
really, it's a stretch. We just wanted to do a beer
just
episode,
wanted
and
to talk to
we
people that make
dreamt
beer.
up an excuse to
But-
do.
No,
beer.
but I mean, like within the last, craft beer. Some of our guests don't even like the term craft beer anymore, but independent
Oh, yeah.
brewing
Yeah, that
has launched. People making a name, people making beautiful stuff. You guys are in the heart of Midtown.
Yep.
Memphis. For those who are not familiar, Midtown is an arts saturated part of Memphis, you could say, and it from there. Plenty of goodness leaks into all of the rest of Memphis. But why don't you give us a little biography as to how you guys arrived to where you are right now?
You and me.
I guess I'll jump in on this.
All right, go for it.
Yeah. Well, we started it. Drew and I had known each other a long time. We were in Memphis drinking good beer before the scene was really established years ago, and we both worked at the Flying Saucer downtown, which was a bastion, the only place really to drink craft beer there for a while, and good beers. And then Drew ran off to Asheville, North Carolina, and and had a great time out there, and worked at French Broad Brewing Company, and then he was looking to move back to Memphis. He's got his family here, and just was wanting to start a brewery.
It was time to get married, start a family, start a business.
And beer was at the top of your list.
Absolutely. It was the only thing on the list. I started home brewing when I was in college. I made that first batch of beer, and I fell in love with it. I knew that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's a common thread we've heard a lot with guys. Obviously, when you hang out with other brewers, this is obviously, there's some kind of like childhood or teenagehood, a young adulthood thing happening, and launching you into this.
I actually started about 2 months after I turned 21, and I was kind of pissed because I then realized that I actually could have started buying ingredients at the age of 18, because you can legally make beer at 18. You're not supposed to drink it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, a little tip out there for anybody about to turn 18.
Young people.
Just don't drink it. It was just a couple months after that, and I was like, man, I could have not had people buy me beer. I could have just made it. But here we are.
And we are in the tap room, as a matter of fact, and beer is being made right now.
Beer's being
we
made,
speak, yeah.
forklifts are being run around.
Yeah.
It's actually quite clean because we were open last night. But if you'd been here at this time yesterday,
Yeah.
this place was a total disaster. There are usually about anywhere from 4 to 12 pallets of stuff just sitting around the tap room. So if you come in here for the tap room and you're like, oh, this place is pretty cool. Yeah, just remember that there was a forklift running through there not too long before you got here.
Oh yeah.
So, did you? Sorry.
Forklift.
Forklift.
You get used to it. It's just like planes near the airport.
So did you work anywhere else to learn more about brewing? Get some experience in any other world of brewing?
French Broad Brewing in Asheville was my only other brewing job.
Okay.
I was there for 5 years. I got hired on as the delivery driver. A year later, the assistant brewer left, so I got to take his spot. And then 6 months after that, the head brewer left, and I got to move up to that. So within 18 months, I went from delivery driver to head brewer and stayed there as head brewer for 3.5 years, and then moved back to Memphis to open up this place with Andy.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, that's amazing to me. Is there a culture of like apprenticeship, old world apprenticeship within the brewing world?
Yes, yeah, and there's also schooling you can go to
Yeah.
now. And there has been. Sorry, they're stacking kegs in the back if you can hear that.
That's good.
No, I didn't hear that.
It's a working brewery.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of apprenticeships, but there are more and more schools opening up. But it definitely, people my age and older, most went through some kind of apprenticeship situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that's one of the cool things I think about the industry is it does one of those apprenticeship things. You can go to school and you can take classes and you can get a degree. And actually, Drew has a degree in
I do. I'm pretty sure I have the first and only degree in beer from the University of Memphis.
is that right?
Yes. I have a degree in Zimmergy management, and Zimmergy is the art and science of fermentation.
Yes.
So I left school in Michigan, where I was going to engineering school, and came back home to Memphis and finished up there. And I did a design your own degree program, and that's through the University College there. And took a lot of classes in microbiology, marketing, management. I forget what else. There was something else. But basically, just like try to get a well-rounded idea of like how to run a brew pub was what I wanted to do. And one of the other reasons I left my first school was because I didn't want to write a thesis. As an undergrad at that school, you had to write a thesis.
Right.
And then I ended up writing an 80-page thesis at Memphis for my undergrad.
Nice.
But it was actually it was a business plan for a meadery, mead being honey wine.
Oh my goodness.
And so it worked out great. I enjoyed every minute of it. I had enough credits to actually get 2 degrees, but I didn't. It was a Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of Memphis, but I say I got a degree in BS.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I mean, when you say you started brewing when you were a teenager, and you knew what you wanted to do, I mean, you created your own path from that
I was
point
21
on,
when
right?
I started brewing.
Well, all right.
Yeah.
Sorry. But I mean, right when you knew, I mean, you didn't deviate at all. It sounds like.
No.
I
I made that first batch, and before it was even like I made it that day, and before it even started bubbling, I was like, "This is what I want to do for the rest of my life." And one of the benefits that I had that helped me make that decision was the school I was going to was a co-op school. So I went to school for 3 months and worked for 3 months, and school for 3 months and worked for 3 months, and school for 3 months and worked for 3 months, and that's just how you did school.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of practical experience in an engineering office. And can we cuss?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I fucking hated it. And so I tried my best to finish that degree because I was like, I just need to have this as a backup. And I got 4.5 years out of a 5-year program. I was like, nah, I can't do this anymore.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Are you conscious of the fact that you have? Does this endeavor combine your science and art
Absolutely.
every day?
Yeah.
I mean, like, is that something you reflect on and think about? Man, like this is
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why I enjoy it so much. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I get the artsy side of designing recipes and things like that, and then a lot of engineering stuff. Like one day I'm a plumber, one day I'm an electrician. Some days I get to brew beer. Most of it's just fixing shit around here.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I think that's a common misconception. People think of the artistry of beer, but it's a lot of science and
Right.
boiling this, getting this type of liquid at this temperature for this duration of time, and I mean it's a lot of work on that level.
It's a lot
the
of
other common
cleaning,
thread too.
A lot
is
of cleaning.
Is the cleaning thing that we've heard from everyone.
Yeah,
I mean,
that- I
cleaning
mean-
and learning how to fix your equipment.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And it was being located in Midtown. Was that intentional, or did that just kind of happen? Did it grow up around you, or like what?
It was intentional. It almost didn't happen, but we certainly we wanted it. Andy and I both live in the neighborhood in Cooper Young. If we didn't have to use our cars for other things during the day, we would both just walk to work. Sometimes I wonder, why don't I just leave my Jeep here and I just walk home and then use my Jeep during the day? I don't know. Maybe someday I'll do that.
Yeah.
A lot of times I got to get my kid to school, I don't know. One of these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean we're Midtowners.
Yeah.
Through and
But
through.
we had looked at this location at first, and then didn't think it was going to work out. So we went out and looked for other locations, and actually got other ideas of how to make this space work. So yeah, we set out to not only be in Midtown, but be in Cooper Young in particular, and it took a lot of dating to find the right space.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And we also, another common thread is people maybe looking to pursue a brewing career need to have eyes wide open to the upstart, all the cost.
Oh yeah.
And it was
Regulations.
is financing. Are banks all gung ho about brewing, or is it like?
It was difficult when we started, for sure.
Yeah.
We went out and hunted out investors. We did not go to a bank to start off with. And so it took a while. It took a year and a half, 2 years to pull it all together for that. But that was the process in itself is pretty difficult, but also never having done it before made it even more difficult.
Yeah.
But we went to a lot of stuff with SCORE, which I'm totally forgetting what it stands for, but it doesn't. Whatever. Look it
It's
up.
like
SCORE.
a mentorship in small business. In Clark Tower.
Yeah. And then we talked to some like the Small Business Administration and things like that, and got a lot of good advice through that. But then it was seriously just like talking to people and be like, hey, you want to invest in this?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's probably gotten a little easier now. I mean, people are more familiar with craft beer, especially in Memphis. 5 years ago, they were like, there was only Bosco's and Ghost River, and they're like,
Right.
This is going to go away, and
Yeah.
people can just keep drinking Budweiser forever and a day. And now I think people are understanding, especially with some of the larger regionals that are growing bigger, and the nationals and what they're doing. The way it just seems people see that it's not going anywhere. It's not a fad. It's a trend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we actually have banks coming to us and asking if can we give you money? It's like,
Yeah.
no, we're good now. Where the hell were you 5 years ago?
Get
funny how
capital
that works?
spam.
Yeah, thanks.
Like in our inbox. You want capital?
We have bankers stop by the tap room and be like, hey, we'd love to help you out. It's like, yeah, that's cool, but we're good now, man.
It's got this
Here,
sack
buy
of
a beer.
cash in the got a sack of cash in the car. Sign this document. We're cool. You can just leave it.
Oh,
And then they
gosh.
get really weird and you ask them for like $5 million, and it's,
Yeah.
So are you guys? Are there people that you have employed right now that you're mentoring, apprenticing to,
definitely.
Yeah.
I think. None of our guys came in from other practical commercial experience. Some had some homebrewing experience and things like that, but nobody's.
Pork Chop was a journalist.
Yep.
Adam was working at Central Barbecue.
Yep.
Maybe some chef experience and cook experience, but
yeah, no commercial brewing experience.
But again,
I don't think anybody from any. Vanessa. Alex had. This was his first
really?
brewing job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Vanessa worked at Coronado Brewing
our
in
taproom
San Diego.
manager.
awesome.
Yeah.
And then as far as the scene in Memphis, what's your take on that? And maybe if you could what's the forecast for brewing in Memphis?
It's definitely growing. We're kind of set up a base level. Again, when Drew and I started, it was just really Bosco's and Ghost River. And then that year, Wiseacre, High Cotton, and we opened all at the same time, 2013. And then you added a couple more, and now there's a cidery. And that's not a brewery, obviously, but it's in the same ballpark. And
the fermentation family.
Fermentation family. There you go.
Are you going to come back around and make some mead, or is that have you done
Drew
that?
makes a hell of a good mead.
I make some at the house. Yeah,
off the rack,
I mean, just personally, you don't do it.
No, I mean, I'm not saying that won't happen someday, but no, not right. I mean, you want to try some? We got some on back there.
I'm never going to say no if someone offers me.
We'll grab some in a second here.
But is that a whole
think of a
different?
rad
Does that
mead.
take different gear? Is that a whole different
Dude,
process?
it's so much easier.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to mash anything. You just mix shit up and go to town. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But it's
It just takes longer.
Yeah.
The scene's growing. It's maturing. You're seeing these guys enter the market. 5 years in, Drew and I have learned a lot in 5 years.
Yeah.
And a lot. And
Yeah.
all the breweries have. So, the first year or two or three, you're still feeling your way. And then around year 5, you kind of have a better idea what you're doing and what your identity is. And, and you're educating people. We're all doing tours. That means the public's getting more education. That was one of the reasons we started a brewery is there wasn't a scene in Memphis. And people would always, kind of complain. They go, oh, man, came back from Denver, and the scene's amazing there. I came here from, San Francisco, and they have this amazing beer scene, or Asheville. Have you ever been there? It's great. Man, Memphis has no beer scene. And we're like, why don't you do something, instead of just complaining about it, So, that's kind of part of our ethos is just like getting started and educating people about beer and like becoming the beer scene a little bit, and educating people about beer and talking about beer as opposed to just, Bud Miller Coors.
How important is it to have a tap room to you guys?
Very important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that from the onset, or is that like something that came up later? Or is that
we wanted to do it from the very beginning, but we didn't really get the capital to make that happen to start off with. So it actually took us a little over a year to open the tap room. We put out our first beer production-wise October 11th, 2013, and then the tap room opened the following Thanksgiving Friday. So it was almost exactly a year. And it just took a while for us to pull all that together. But we wanted to have one from day one. We didn't. But it's great retail money for us. It's great connection. Gives me a place to hang out on Fridays.
Yeah. It's instant customer feedback. You do a beer, you put it on tap. Person sitting across from you is talking about it. You can ask them questions. Do you like it? What don't you like?
It seems to be a given model, right? I can't think of any brewery that doesn't have a tap room. That's come,
I'm sure there's a handful out there, but it's very few that don't do that now.
Is that something like that breweries like when they open, they're just like, okay, well, this is a given. We're gonna have to have this.
I think it's pretty much boilerplate at this point. Yeah.
Okay.
It's changed the industry a lot too. We've got more breweries now than we have ever had, and a lot of people have been concerned about this bubble that's going to burst. And
a beer bubble?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And we had a really terrible one in the mid '90s where a lot of breweries closed down. I forget the number, but it was hundreds of breweries. And tap rooms weren't really a thing at that time. There were a handful out there, but there weren't that many. So you were either a brew pub and you sold all your stuff on site, or you were a production brewery and you sold everything through wholesale. And with this mix here of the wholesale and having the retail aspect is what is driving these breweries now. I think in the mid '90s. There were definitely less than 2,000 breweries. I forget exactly what the number was. I want to say we're over 6,000 now.
Last I heard.
Yeah. There may be a small bubble coming, but it's not going to be anything like the mid '90s for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, do you feel like the state has kind of caught up at least somewhat with what you're trying to do with the industry?
The state?
Or
like the state of Tennessee, or
or the city, or just
Tennessee.
I wouldn't give the state any credit like that. No.
No, it's still you're still dealing with like
Tennessee's pretty archaic.
There's always going to be pros and cons to every state.
Sure.
We have the highest beer tax out of any state, like by far. I think Alaska's second. And they're a third of what our tax is.
Wow.
Which is ironic because, all the, Tennessee, all the words coming out of Nashville, like, oh, we need lower taxes on pretty much everything but beer. I think it's what it kind of comes down to. Like,
But we also have the option to self-distribute in Tennessee, well, at least in our county in Tennessee.
That's key.
And some states don't let you do that. Some states mandate that you have to go through a wholesaler.
Are you all familiar with the 3-tiered system?
Yeah, that came up in our first conversation. I was wondering about that when High Cotton, when Kaylee was mentioning that they self-distribute, and I was like, wait a second, what,
Yeah, and that's huge for us. It gives us a couple of pros. It gives us better connection with the customer. We know the bar manager who orders the beer. Where our placement is, where our line cleaning is, but also it just gives us a better profit margin.
Yeah,
and,
it's a lot more work, but it's
a lot more
worth
work.
it.
But
it comes back.
It definitely works out for us.
Well, okay, speaking of beer, right now, Drew poured us a delicious glass of, this is Scottish ale, is that correct?
Flat Attack.
Flat Attack?
Plaid Attack.
Plaid Attack. Plaid Attack. I love it. Something that was interesting is that Devin from Wiseacre mentioned that his go-to of his own beer was Tiny Bomb.
Correct.
Which is a straight-up lager, right?
Pilsner.
Yeah.
Pilsner, sorry.
Yeah.
In my introduction to independent brewing was an oatmeal stout, which was, and then just jumping into everything that was just very large tasting, large. So what's your philosophy like? How do you feel? I mean, I was just looking again on your website and just a list of beers you guys have done, and
There's some we haven't even put on there.
Yeah, we have missed a couple of them. I'm kind of in the same boat with Davin. Junt is my go-to. It's a cream ale. It's light. It's easy drinking. It's 4.5%. That's my go-to beer. Also, whatever we just tapped up, I tend to drink more of that when we first tap it up. Mm-hmm. But I always go back to Junt. I've always got some in the fridge of the house.
But I mean, is that still popular with your with the folks as far as like kind of going wild or trying large different things?
I think it just depends on the customer, really. But Fireside's by far our biggest seller, and it's an amber ale, super easy drinking, 5.1%, not hoppy at all, malty but not like over the top.
It's not sickly sweet.
It's
right. And it's 5.1% alcohol. So I mean, this Scotch is 6.2. It's 5.1 still not sessionable, but it's you're going to drink a few of them, not have to take a break. Too much of a break.
Yeah.
Drink responsibly, kids.
There you go. There you go.
But no, I mean, we've always, now, when we started off, we were a seasonal only brewery.
Really?
That was a little known nugget about us.
Yeah.
We switched it up. Talk about learning. We used to switch it up every 3 months.
Every 3 months, we took the beers off tap and put something else out in the market.
Is that
Andy
total?
hated it.
I hated it. I didn't know why I hated it because I was too dumb to understand it.
So was Fireside your first?
No, Fireside.
Parkway's Pale Ale.
Parkway's and South Cooper Saison were the first two beers that we put out.
No. I mean,
first year round.
Yeah, exactly.
It was.
I think it was actually
because I remember it was originally as a fall seasonal one year, and we took it off, and people were like literally
they were pissed
off.
Oh my God! He came back to the brewery. He's like, "Dude, we got to do something." I was like, "No, man, this is what we're doing. We're changing it up." He's like, "No, man, they're rioting out there."
And then the next year, it was a fall seasonal, and we was a fall, and then a fall and winter seasonal because we kept it, and then we took it off again. And then I'm just.
I think we put it back on in that. I think we took like a 2-month break on it, and Andy was like, seriously, like people are going to drop our taps. They will not buy beer unless it's Fireside.
Wow.
And they were mad
because you had to re-educate. You're like, hey, those beers you like, guess what? They're gone. Here's 2 new ones, completely different. And they'd be like, in the Memphis, really, again, it's not a sophisticated market. This is not like Portland or something where people go like, oh yeah, sure, seasonal brewery, we're hip to that. They're like,
and I think was that the same like winter that like our only 2 beers were 2 dark beers. We had a coffee Belgian stout and a dark wheat beer. That's all we were pushing. And we learned a lot from the sales and marketing aspect of that.
And then, so now
guys,
we're trying
don't just do that.
Not yet. I mean, we were reading these stories about like Evil Twin and gypsy brewers and all these just crazy different ways of doing it. And this is Memphis. It's just a little different. And so we settled into 3 year-round beers, but then they have plenty of time to play. I mean, they do a lot of one-off limited run beers, so it's kind of a blend of the two. you got to kind of give the people what they want, but you also give them something new, and so that's what we try to do.
There's also something to be said for consistent, a consistent brew, consistent recipe that demonstrates a lot. It seems like,
Oh, absolutely.
Can you keep beer like so if you have a one-off or something, like how long can you store beer?
It all depends on the beer. Typically, the rule is lower the alcohol, the quicker you want to drink it. Bigger alcohol beers will tend to stay longer.
Okay.
But it really all just depends on the beer.
And hops. Hops are a preservative, but they're also better fresh. You want to drink an IPA straight out the gate.
Yeah.
The hops are one of the first things to deteriorate, so you don't want to age an IPA really necessarily.
Oh, okay.
I would argue no.
Yeah. To that point, you got some brewers that almost exclusively only drink IPAs off the tanks back there. They're like once it goes to the tap, it's not that good anymore.
Wow.
It's different.
It's
for sure.
a freshness issue. I remember one time I had when I was working at the Saucer, there was a beer, they had Sierra Nevada wheat. They don't even make it anymore, but it was just I had it at the Saucer and it was fine. It was just a wheat beer. It was light, thin, not a lot of flavor to it. And then I went and visited my sister in San Francisco, actually I went to Chico with a friend of mine and had it, and you could smell the hops from like a foot away.
Wow.
Same beer, but it was just right off the tank, and it had just deteriorated that much. So yeah, hops, you want to definitely do that. Now, and again, high alcohol, malty beers probably are a little better, I would argue, for aging.
Hey, real quick, Memphis Machine would like to thank Snakebite for their sponsorship of the podcast. Snakebite, made in America, makes the best keychain, beer, bottle opener, and folding fork church key, along with their excellent professional bartending tool, the Mamba. You can check out Snakebite at www.snakebiteco. That's snakebiteco.com. That's cool. In our discussion so far, I kind of liken breweries to a record label almost. Is that we were talking about that before,
we talked
right?
about that with the
kind of putting out the hits,
the branding,
exactly, the marketing, the branding. So I just thought it's like, would you guys have the time, or would it ever interest you to pursue even more artistic relations? I was asking if you were part of a
Goner Records,
like
sort of thing.
Open a label or some kind of obviously, do you have live music here at the tap room?
We do occasionally, not on a regular basis, but for certain events and things like that. Yeah.
Drew's been in a few cover bands you mentioned, right?
Yeah. Andy's been
sorry, Andy.
No, I cannot play any instrument whatsoever.
Yes.
Drew cannot play instruments.
Is that like, as far as would that? I guess beer takes up most of your time. Would that be?
Oh yeah, we definitely don't have any time to do anything like that right now. It'd be cool to be able to do some kind of offshoot of something someday. But
like with the Cooper Young Festival, this is right in the thoroughfare of everything.
Yes,
as far as this is. You guys are a big part
Seems
of the
like
festival.
a lot of possibilities for partnership in the community.
Oh yeah, and we partner with Goner all the time. Zach over at Goner actually curates most of our stage presence, so he helps us get a lot of awesome bands.
Yeah.
And then we've been sponsoring Goner Fest for
2 or 3 years now.
No,
at least.
I think it's been 5 years.
Sponsor? Oh, we hosted. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we've been hosting the last 2 years now. So we did the Friday day show here.
And we brew beers just for them. That's our way of showing love, really. It's not all about we write this big check or whatever. Yeah. It's like Drew collaborates and works with Zach over there, and Eric, and do a Goner Fest session IPA every year, different one, and we do a Goner Brow, and then this year we did 16-ounce Tall Boy Goner Brow.
I remember that.
For just the shows and stuff, and people love it. It's fun. It's.
We need to hook you guys up with the opera, a Memphis opera IPA or something would be.
Yeah.
Or Shroom's good for opera, soaring ceilings and stuff.
Oh man.
Yeah, be down with that.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
we had a good interview with Opera Memphis. It was fantastic.
We've done stuff with Rock and Romp.
We've done stuff with Rock and Romp. We've got a beer coming up with New Ballet next door. We've done Nut Remix with them for a couple years now. We're actually going to put that in cans this year.
Nut Brown beer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And they're just down the street, New Ballet Ensemble. They do a different version.
Yeah, part right in front of them.
Gosh, who have we not? We've done a lot of different collaborations. There's none of them coming to mind right now.
Done a lot of stuff with Clean Memphis and Project Green Fork.
Pineapple Wheat.
Yeah.
Overton Park, rather. We've done a lot.
We do a lot of stuff, a lot of events and things like that.
We're hosting a fundraiser for them recently. We did some stuff with Wolf River Conservancy. I mean,
we did some specialty package junt, some Americana junt for Music Export in Memphis. Sent that to Americana Fest in Nashville. So yeah, we did a variety of different collaborations.
Who does your graphics?
Weston Noteston does our graphics. He used to work across the street at Bluff City Sports, and he's since moved on to there, but he still does all of our stuff.
Very nice.
Yeah, but we met him from just being across the street there.
I mean, yeah. So like with Wiseacre, I mean, and just kind of stumbling. It was a friend. It was a high school friend.
The artist.
Yeah.
Yeah, high school.
Right.
I mean, so I mean,
I only know because I went to high school with them.
That's fantastic. No, that's great. I mean, so like, started a relationship with someone regarding branding and the artistry of it. But you didn't have like something in mind, right? It just kind of fell into.
Yeah, I mean, like that's kind of how a lot of it. I mean, it's through relationships.
Yeah.
Like we did something with Lucero a couple of years back, and basically, the bass player just walked in here one day and was like, "Hey, would you guys be interested?" And we did, the family picnic back in 2015.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's how a lot of it is.
But are you asking like, did we have a vision for the
Yeah.
art? Oh, no.
Yeah.
We are not graphic artists or visual artists in any way.
Yeah.
I mean, we definitely put our final stamp of approval on everything, but no, we Weston in particular and anybody else we've worked with in the past, we definitely have let them just kind of do their thing.
Wow. What advice do you have for folks wanting to roll up their sleeves and jump into this realm?
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Go home. Go back.
Do you like sleep? Is the first question. No, man. If you want to make it happen, make it happen. It's not easy, but it's fun as hell. There's nothing like getting done with your work day and walking 10 feet and be like, oh, I'm gonna have a beer right now. Right, that's good stuff. So yeah, I mean, if you want to do it, go for it.
Yeah.
But just ask a lot of questions. Make sure you're doing it right because it ain't easy.
Yeah, and it's just more and more of it. So yeah, I mean, you got to do your homework and just, hire professionals, do the things you need them to do.
Yeah.
Like a good accountant, a good lawyer, always good to have.
Oh gosh.
Get an attorney. Definitely get an attorney.
Hey guys, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Drew, Andy. I mean, I know you guys are like literally making beer right now, and
a brand new beer actually.
A brand. And what was the brand new beer again?
It's Dunkelweizen. We don't officially have a name yet for it.
Oh,
okay. Yeah. That's how we tend to roll here. We'll usually come up with a name. Sometimes the day we release a beer.
Yeah.
Another benefit of being self-distributing, we can procrastinate a lot, and I'm really good at that. But no, we don't officially have a name for it, but it'll be out in a couple weeks.
I'll keep my eyes out.
So let's
for
not
that.
procrastinate on the mead sampling.
The mead, yes, yeah. I got to check that out. Hey, Memphis Made, come to Memphis, look for it. Come to the tap room, hang out, especially during with all the festivals we have in Midtown.
That's right. Cooper,
come and hang out.
What's the number again?
768.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh.
Nice.
768 South Cooper.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's go try some mead. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cheers.
Well, I'm thirsty for a nice cold craft beer.
Craft beer.
Huge thanks again to Wiseacre, Memphis Made,
Old Dominick,
and of course High Cotton.
A lot of time went into that episode, but I'd do it all over again.
Oh, it was there's a little part of me that still wants to do some home brewing. I'll probably get around to it here at some point.
What a resolution.
And some of you listening might want to jump into this full time. You've heard about the delights and the perils. It's like anything else of excellence. It takes a lot of hard work, but all these folks are bearing a lot of fruits, so to speak.
And there are a couple of breweries that we did not get to in this episode. And we happen to know of a couple that are about to start.
True.
Right. So nothing's saying that we won't have a part 2 of this.
A part 2. Yeah. That's not a bad idea.
Hope you enjoyed.